I'm a sucker for that type of stuff. All right, we're live on Twitch.
Yo, Twitch.
Um,
Well, a funny story for the Twitch people. So I was just like eyeing. It's like a $500 microphone, and I was like, man, I don't think I can quite swing it with everything I'm trying to do. And then it was like the same day I was looking at it, my boss pulls me in and is like, "We're back to bonuses again this year," and I was like, maybe new microphone on the menu. Um, By the way, Accuser, I have an audio interface and a mic. I need to test it out just to make sure everything runs smoothly. But I literally have everything to send you a studio mic.
I did order one on Prime Day,
Oh, okay.
and it arrives Wednesday. It was delayed with the hurricane, but if it sucks, I'll take you up on it.
Okay, cool. Then we will hold off and see how yours goes.
Yeah, the
But I was,
hurricane just kind of screwed Prime delivery out here, so it arrives,
that's
I
no
think,
good.
Wednesday. We'll see.
I should still make sure it works. It'd be nice to have a whole backup setup in case
That's a
any
good
piece
idea.
of electronics for anybody kind of starts going on the fritzy
That's
fritz.
that's a good idea. Oh boy. Okay. Hello. Um. Todd.
Hello there.
It's
the
Cliff Jumper.
Oh,
It's
we
in the
got we
chat.
got a we got a Toddly.
I
Excellent.
got a Todd. I was blanking on his name. I was like,
Todd's been great about going and commenting on every YouTube video that I do. He's kind
that's a
of a hero.
wonderful. He's a wonderful human being.
so here's a perfect example. Like, and right, Todd, you did the packet for, um, LVO. Like the frenemies that he's doing is a little bit easier on the rule set, but it's kind of different than what like we were talking about earlier for what we're doing for packs.
Is Hondo good in frenemies, do you think? Because you can run that just weak way tag and nothing competes with it.
That could be a cool, like that's a fun way to do it because then you get to do whatever you want with the rest of with your other squad.
It's
Um,
that or Lando being all Bespin. Like, can make that squad
Gizzard,
work
I'm
too.
going to step away for just a second before we start recording.
Okay.
I will be right back.
yeah, like
It
One.
hasn't been,
LVO.
like, bothering my brain for the past 2 hours, clearly.
But what like LVO is doing is just pure each squad can only, so each of the players' squads may only contain characters that share at least one tag. Once you've chosen a tag for squad one, none of the characters in the other squad may have that tag. I guess it's the same.
That sounds the same.
If we wanted it to be
Um,
more open than say Adepticon.
they have that tag. Okay, I think so that it actually sounds like it's the same thing. We had a lot of questions. I've been trying to do the same frenemies format. We did it as a fun thing at Atlantic City Open, and I've been trying. We ran it as a local event as well, trying to have people break break it. So Cliff, I'll send you my text for what I'm putting in what's in the packet for packs for frenemies because there were a few questions that I think are worth answering ahead of time in the packet. Um,
And that might be a fun bonus episode. Like, how do we list build for a weird format?
Oh, I definitely want to. I want to get all of us. So I was thinking a lot about like how I was doing Star Wars minis stuff back in the day, and I think the reason why we were able to do so many events and play so much and keep so many people involved in the community was that we were playing different formats. And I was like, okay, well, how can I bring that to Shatterpoint? And so like I'm thinking a lot about like different formats to suggest where you're still just fundamentally playing Shatter, but can, because you find things that like, oh, well, in this, like, if we found a format where you play 3 primaries and 3 secondaries and 3 supports and find a way to make all that work, what other things become more viable because you need a whole nother squad in there? Like what things suddenly start becoming more interesting and actually get to see table time, and that sort of thing? And does it push anything in specific out, stuff like that?
um, so what? Actually, we were talking about a little bit the one you were out the three mirror, and I've been pushing that around our local community a little bit to see what people's thoughts are because we've been in this debate of we love the idea of Premiere, but Premiere at a 3-round event is brutal. So we're gonna run our next event as our next non. We have a charity event coming up in November. Our later November event or our later December event is going to be the 3 mirror format. So
I will say my gut says that I don't like 3 mirror because I would rather play like Premiere, but you don't have to play the other list or something like that. The 3 mirror just really means you're playing like one anchor list and then you shuffle around the other side, which
I think you have to play each pairing possibility in 3 mirror, not anchor
oh,
them.
I thought it was just you had to
I
play each
maybe I
primary
misunderstood it, but
ones.
I'm thinking like Mando Mall Ahsoka. You have to play Mando Mall, Mando Ahsoka, Mall
Ooh,
Ahsoka.
now I gotta figure that
that's
one out.
very like that I haven't thought about that. Um if it's that's definitely something that's potentially more interesting.
That's how
My
I
like
understood it. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's a lot
yeah,
more interesting than,
yeah.
just build, because I think that you're absolutely right. Otherwise, you end up with an anchor list and just building around it, and it doesn't solve anything. But you've got to
Yeah.
run each individual pairing at least once. It prevents you from running just Iden 3 rounds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that no, I like that.
Yeah. I'd have to think about that one some more and fully absorb it. But I I also want like it's also got to be like variations beyond just like the same like fundamentally you're still going to be playing the same stuff. Like I think if you do a 3 mirror, you it's not I don't think my gut now having no testing and having not thought about it that much, right? I don't know how much that actually changes what you're playing. Like do you end up playing anything significantly different from what you were already playing all the time anyway?
that's a good
And
point.
you
No, I think that's a great point.
yeah.
I think
And that's where it's like
possibly.
what creates true interesting variety where you're like you're actually trying to solve a different puzzle. And like the 3 mirror, the way that Accuser was kind of explaining, I'm like that's definitely a different puzzle.
Yeah, because it takes away being able to build a 2 and 2, right? You can't just have two lists that function independently. You have to think about how 3 squads for sure play with each other.
Yeah. And that's like I said, like that I could be I mean you could just do like Spectre plus a Leia thing and like probably works
Hmm.
in almost any combination. But still, does that shake someone into going, well, I've been playing Kane and Leia, now I'm actually practicing Hera. Like that's still
Yeah,
like like how does the Hera Leia thing work together? And like how
exactly.
do and as long as you're creating that kind of interesting choices, that's where I think it could be quite positive. And you may stumble onto a and part of it is like okay we know we all love Premiere, right? We all think this is the optimal format and we love playing it, but you do need kind of a break from stuff on occasion. And this is where you might also learn something and go, man, this pairing, which I did not expect, is actually better than I thought it was, where I had to come up with this, oh, I've been playing Hunter Annie, but then I make this like Luminara thing in there, and then I'm like, oh man, like and you play a combination. Yeah, stuff to think about. But anyway, this is like thinking maybe a month down the road. I'd like to really dive into a like what else could we do to shake things up in our local community, help force ourselves to play some different things, and what do we come up with? And even if it's not like we're not going to find something better, right? Like Premier Showdown is going to be the thing, but keep things fresh is the theory. I
And I
don't
think
have
it'll be
Twitch open. Who all do we have in Twitch so far? Does anyone have it up?
so yeah, I got it up. So we have obviously we're talking to Todd, Cliff Jumper. I saw Qui-Gon pop in,
Ooh.
Cruel, Angry Penguin.
So the
They're
heroes,
all
basically.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
talking about right now that as you see the Diz rotating through shirts because it was tagged that they liked this shirt and he was showing off his Halloween Star Wars shirt. So
Nice,
I've
nice.
watched them too. I like it as I roll by. No, I think Omnis, that's gonna be a great topic, especially that window to talk about it, because we're gonna be what scares me is the same thing happened last year with Shatterpoint, at least in our local community, when we had that like 2.5 month gap that AMG puts in for without releases. We lost a few people going through the holidays, and we had to like drag them, not drag them back in, but get them
Yeah.
re-engaged. So I think alternate formats are going to keep people engaged. um One
I'm
other
gonna hot
thing.
take. I don't think you'll see that this year for the reason one, it's not going to be the meta stagnant with just Vader being the thing you play, and the November release is just massive anyway. So you're gonna have plenty to play in that
Yeah,
2 month gap.
I agree. It won't
But
be
part
as
of the
bad.
problem is that there's going to be a lot of people. So kind of an in between both of your points. There's a lot of people that are going to have been playing the November releases for 2 months before they come out. All the
But there's
whole
a lot of
online
people comparatively that aren't. You
right,
would know.
but what we're going to see, like primarily who we're interacting with, is still going to be online, and the vast majority of people that we're probably talking to on Discord are going to have already been playing this stuff for at least a month, if not 2 months, before it even hits. So by the time we get to December, they're going to potentially have 3 months of time of testing anything that they want. And so I still think there's a risk. It's obviously different because we don't have like Vader plus Vader counters, right? Like that's not the meta. The meta is much more interesting than that. But there still could be some like, I am definitely ready for some new shit. And they probably won't. I mean, who knows? Maybe they drop some spoilers and stuff in December that lets people practice some stuff that's going to come out in January. Like that can totally happen. But I do think December-ish, early December, late November could be a great time period for let's talk about other ways to also play with our Shatterpoint models and see what it if it gets us excited to play something that we weren't playing. Like well, after Veers is out, like, if you have an Empire list that has 3 fucking squads in it, like what does that do to stormtroopers? Like does like the stormtrooper amplification become like really significant at that point? Stuff like that.
Don't
Because
make
I
me
like how
sad.
it was like yesterday you were like, Veers is the future, and now you're like,
It's I think this hot take, right? I think it'll be good with Vader. It doesn't do what I wanted it to do with Thrawn. That's basically like moral of the story where I'm at.
I had a feeling as soon as you said it, but I didn't want to fuck with your hype. So I was like, I'll
Nice.
just let Dizzard explore it. I was like, there is no way that Thrawn Veers is going to be his thing. But
No, we Cyril and I tried it once and it was like ew. Like it felt so like it felt really good at the beginning of the game, and as the game went on, I was like, this is so bad. Like the force economy was just so bad. Like, mm-mm. I was like, with Vader maybe, but not with Thrawn. Okay, well now that we've
Twitch,
had
do
almost
you
half
guys
of an
like
episode.
Twitch, do you guys like this setup where you can see my Star Wars shirts where I'm sitting on like basically a bar chair? Let me know. Or is it just
Oh,
weird?
do we have to
Like,
show off shirts?
we definitely have to. That's like half the point of this podcast is to show off Star Wars shirts.
I don't have a Star Wars shirt on. I have an Eagle shirt.
So that's
I mean,
basically a
Eagles'
Lord of the
defense
Rings
was
shirt,
great for my
right?
fantasy team, so I'll take it.
I have my somewhere. So my son's first birthday is Saturday. Our theme is one with the Force. So he has like a shirt with his name that's all in Star Wars characters, and we have like a dad and mom shirt that are all in Star Wars characters.
Aw.
So that is I'll wear that on Sunday.
And
We
I
need
will
to
be
do a
shamelessly stealing that around May.
Yeah,
We
I'll
need to-
send you. I found a bunch of cool stuff, including some stuff I 3D printing that I won't need again, so I can put it in a box and mail to you as well. Or send
need
it.
to-
Well, I'm coming to Philly. Like,
Yeah, well, I was
I'll
saying,
just
if you ever
I'll
move
leave
to
room.
Vegas. Yeah, perfect.
we need to do a poll on
do
who
have-
has the best Star Wars shorts.
Shorts?
Shirts.
I have a new Star Wars shirt, but I don't want to wear it until after the new releases drop. And so after we have the new releases, like that weekend, I've got a shirt that I was pretty excited about.
Is it Dizzard as Lobot, that one like emoji that we have where he's wearing headphones in the chat? Please
No,
tell
that's
me
the
it's that.
tattoo on my calf, though.
There we go.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Is Dizzard as Lobot.
Show it off.
I did see a tweet where these guys had like they did a team tournament and they were all wearing basically DJ Yoda shirts, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get one of those.
There are some really cool designs.
God bless America. All right, Dizzard, are we ready to actually do an episode? Since
I
we've
don't
basically
know.
done
Are
a-
we should have been recorded that and just put that on the bonus feed.
I was actually thinking about before this. I think it was yesterday. I was thinking about it. I was like, so Muse on Minis does a thing where basically before recording, they just kind of like chat about movies and sports and stuff
Yeah.
like that before they record. Then they like put it at the end of the episode. So you can listen to the whole episode of them talking about Marvel, and then after the end credits, it just goes into their warm up basically, and they're
Well,
just like talking about movies for half an hour, 45 minutes.
I always like this for like the stream, because then the people who come to the stream like
Yeah.
actually have like a cool thing that like, hey, I got to be part of this cool conversation that nobody else gets. Like,
That's totally cool too.
And all the special peoples. All right, but yeah, let's get this show on the road. I'm gonna hit buttons. Maybe buttons.
Hit them buttons.
There it goes.
Welcome, my young apprentice. Stretch out with your feelings. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Welcome back to another episode of Rogue Support, where we are always in your corner of the cantina. Thank you for listening as always, and come join the discussion that happens in the Discord. There will be a link in the description. A big thank you to our patrons for supporting us, and if you would like to join our patron, then the link for that will be in the description as well. We have a new
Our
patron.
patrons are the best.
We have a new patron this last week, and God, I did it again. I didn't write it down before, and it's all blocked out because I'm on streaming mode. God, it starts with an S. I know that much. It was a cool name too.
Wasn't it like?
I got
God, you're killing me.
I'm sorry. Somebody.
I wasn't
Southpaw penguin.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, Southpaw.
There was a penguin involved. I remembered that.
Omnis to the rescue.
I'm curious if it's
yeah.
the angry penguin.
It's not
in the
Angry
chat.
Penguin.
Oh,
So Angry
okay.
Penguin's a local guy to me. So we have a lot of random penguins in the Star
There's
Wars.
a lot of
Shatterpoint
penguins.
community because
Kevin?
Emperor Kevin is tyrannical penguin in this gaming stuff. Obviously, we have Angry Penguin, and now we have Southpaw Penguin. We are
We need like a penguin gin.
as Angry Penguin in chat says, stay in your lane, other penguins. So
Fair enough. All right, but yeah, thank you for joining the Patreon and supporting us. And as well, we have joined forces with the Goonhammer Media Network to further promote the game and continue to produce quality content. I think that's it for announcements. I don't think we have anything big to discuss. I guess keep saying if you're interested in a Rogue Support, I cannot talk tonight. Rogue Support shirt, please hit me up because it'll be cheaper to do it this way. Just do a 1x1 basis, and instead of me just publishing a store, because at that point it makes this shirts like $35. I don't want to do that to nobody. Like, we just want to share the love, not make a racket off this, you know. So if you want a Rogue Support shirt, hit me up and we'll do what we can to get it going. So there is that. I still need to get on this. I'm failing at that.
Are we not going to talk about your sexy glasses? Like, I feel like that's news. You know, can we?
No.
Is that how you get more Twitch subscribers? Is you're just like, all right, you did a whole poll and you're like, I'm sexier in glasses.
All right,
so Diz, open the spreadsheets.
No, what I do is I just gotta start scratching my tattoos as I get them and start showing them off. I was trying to show you the one earlier because I was like, well, we were not recording, but anyways, yeah. So I went and got my eyeglass appointment finally, and apparently my last prescription for glasses was so jacked up. He's like, basically your last prescription was like 11:20, right? If you're looking at a clock, where you should be is like 11:45. I'm like, oh, that sounds terrible, and like, no wonder I got headaches when I wore them. And so I've been wearing glasses again now that I have glasses that are actually good for my eyes. And I need
wearing glasses that are too powerful can actually make your eyes worse because your eyes get lazier.
Oh yeah,
because they're.
Which is probably what happened, because nowadays, like, I didn't realize this, and somebody's like, you're gonna notice how bad your vision actually is when you start wearing your glasses. Because like, I like this, and I'm like, the words get bigger when I put the glasses on. That's weird. Like, so yeah, I have glasses now. And thank you for that. And that's basically it. So I guess we can just go into what you've been up to, right?
Hot takes, cold drinks.
Hot takes and cold drinks. I guess we'll start with Omnis. What's your hottest of takes and your coldest of drinks?
All right. Well, first off, I apologize about missing last week. If you're not in the Discord, I literally did not have home internet when I woke up, and I did not have phone internet when I woke up. I had to text Amon to message Dizzard and tell him I'm probably not making it.
Which is hilarious because you have my number too.
I looked and I didn't see your number
Oh,
in
you
my
just didn't
stuff, so
save it.
maybe I saved it weirdly or something. But
Maybe.
I did look. I was like, I thought
I could have sworn
I've
I could
texted.
have sworn.
Yeah, I thought we had two, but I couldn't find it.
Now I'm looking to see if I actually have yours
anyway,
saved, and I don't think I do. Like,
if you
This is how I learned there's a group chat that
way
I'm not
way
in.
to troll me, yeah. We should actually exchange phone numbers.
that's
But
true.
yeah, 12 hours with no internet at all is so weird. I felt like I was so disconnected. I was like, what are my guys up to? I can't even watch the episode. It's so sad. But it came back on like 8:30. I got my phone internet. 9:30 we got home internet back. So in the evening I got to like catch up on stuff. But back, so I'm doing Lucille IPA, which is by Georgetown Brewery. It says we like beer on it, and I agree. So good classic IPA. My hot take is gonna be, so last week before I was playing the Saturday before you guys recorded, and then I missed an episode. I did a full demo for someone, and I think that was actually my first like full demo of Shatterpoint. Like, I remember playing some games where, like, right at the beginning, meeting up at the store for the first time, where I was still like answering questions for people, but it didn't feel like I was literally teaching them the game and they knew nothing. And so doing a demo for someone who not only didn't know that much about Star Wars, but also had never played a war game or a miniatures game or anything close to it, playing a full game, I felt like was just too much. And so I was looking around, I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do a demo. And then boom, of course, there's the intro event that I totally kind of skipped over when it came out. They call it minor conflict as the setup, but it's basically you play one squad, so like one primary, one secondary, one support unit, and then you just play like a single struggle that's 3 objectives across the middle. And so when I did the next demo game, I had her play that instead. And that was a lot easier to absorb. And honestly, I thought it was really interesting. And it's something that I think I'm going to try in the future, as like, oh, we don't have enough time to play a full game. Let's play a minor conflict and just kind of like play one squad and see how it goes. So my hot take is that I feel like this as a potential way to play Shatterpoint has been completely overlooked. And I feel like if you need a quick game or to do demos, I feel like playing the intro format or minor conflict has been totally overlooked and should be a more regular part of the Shatterpoint experience. That's my hottest of hot takes.
Do you still play that on a 3x3?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm probably 20 to 30 demos deep in this game, for running it for people. And one of the things, like, if people don't have a lot of time or people just want like a quick snapshot, I do kind of the same thing, single squad, minimal objectives. I cut the board down a little bit though and make it kind of a 24 by like a 2x3, and do that and actually have people deploy a little bit farther up and just put 2 objectives on the board and just like, hey, we're just going to do this just to kind of get a feel for moving up, taking objectives. That's if someone just wants like, hey, I just want to get a quick snapshot of how the game plays, and we play out. We don't even play a full struggle. I move the momentum in a couple cubes, and we just kind of quick play a little. It winds up, I found it takes about, after you explain the core rules, the gameplay takes about 20 to 30 minutes, which tends to be a real nice pace for people just trying to get that little bit of a taste.
So have you tried minor conflict?
I have
you
not.
played
So
this
that's
at all?
why I was curious on how
Oh.
that plays in a 3x3. So now I'm going to look that
Honestly,
up.
it was
that's my
super
homework.
fast because you only have so many models, so stuff is getting wounded very fast. It goes really quick, even without momentum, because everybody's moving right to the middle. And so it's really easy to get wounds really fast. It went by very quickly. Honestly, I almost felt like you were crazy. Me like, we're going to shorten the board and we only need 2 objectives. Like, I felt like things were so fast with just the 3 objectives on a 3x3. Like, I can't imagine needing to shorten it. It was still very, very fast. And this was someone I did one demo for, but I don't know how much she even truly absorbed.
You have to check it out. I'm curious now. So
Yeah.
Cool, cool,
it's a
cool,
good
cool.
hot take. I like it.
I guess we'll go accuser.
Thanks for not calling on me first. It took a minute to spin up what my hot take was going to be. All right, so cold drink tonight, Mango Cart. I ran out of fall beers, so I'm drinking what was left in my fridge from game night last week that someone left. So, but it's good.
What is it? Mango cart?
Mango Cart. It's actually from California.
Like, is it just like a
Golden Road
citrus
Brewing
beer?
Company. It's mango wheat beer. Yeah,
Oh, okay. That was kind of what I was
they've
like.
got a
Mango
guava cart
cart.
as well, also good.
I was like,
If you like
that could be
fruit
a
beers.
cider. That could be a sour. Like, I was like, that could be anything.
I assume that it's a West Coast beer. You just happen to have heard of it, but that's my bad.
Do I look like I drink wheat ales? Anyway, go on.
Wow.
No, you seem like very single lane IPA.
I'll have normal pale ales and blonde ales.
Although I was in the grocery store and I did see Sour Monkey, and I did debate picking that up just so I could steal
So
Tizzard's
good.
whole thing.
If I can ever find sour monkeys, I will message Matt and Phil and let you guys know to also get sour monkeys so we could do a sour monkey show. I won't tell
It would-
Dizzard.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't bring sour monkeys,
It'd be
for
the
that
one
episode,
time I don't have it though. It'd be the one time I'm
exactly
picking something
it
else.
will.
That's when we announce our sponsorship deal and
Yeah.
all of that. And
It's funny. I have actually messaged like Victory and being like, I love your guys' stuff. Like, and I do a podcast. Would you guys be willing to do something? I just never got an email back. I was like, you're so sad.
Just come up to PAX a day or two early, and we'll drive down to Victory headquarters. It's like an hour
Right.
from me. So
That's there's good stuff, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
we have a
all
lot. We
right,
keep a lot of Victory beers.
Accuser, what's your hot take?
so I'm going to shout out Saracrul a little bit on this one because we were bouncing around some list ideas earlier this week. And one of the things we talked about is Moff Gideon has the scoundrel tag. So we were looking a little bit at like, does Moff Gideon Lando do something? I think the landing on there is kind of no. I think Lando really is going to enable a lot more Empire stuff for things that want access to like Gideon Hask. But then we started looking a little bit more, at least I did. I won't speak for Sarah Kroll here, but like, what does he do with Hondo? And I think that's actually a really possibly interesting pairing. So basically, my hot take: Moff Gideon. We know he's good for Empire. Underexplored as Scoundrel, and so I started like tinkering with like, what does Moff Gideon, Ezra, and Dark Troopers look like with like Hondo, Guarm, Fifth Brother? I'm kind of curious. So that's one of the next things I'm going to play with.
Sounds
All right.
fun.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
It's 3 tiebreakers and a lot of out of activation movement.
Oh, that's
and
the 3 tiebreakers. That is where I'm head scratching at, like where I'm.
it's
interested.
3 tiebreakers. You've got the out of activation movement, and then Moff Gideon. I mean, he can already hit pretty hard in melee, but then you're adding Hondo's identity on top of Moff Gideon's identity. I'll swing with Baby Vader. I'll try it.
Well, and Hondo has like a pseudo revenge trigger that I think people forget about, where like
Yes.
he can also you can end up in spots where you're just like, oh, and I wound this guy, and Hondo's like, but I move back onto a point, so get wrecked, noob.
Expensive Mando.
So yeah, I think that's going to be at least interesting to experiment with.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's competitive, but like as a standard showdown list, I'll try it.
Do or do
My
not.
kind of weird.
There is no try it.
Wow.
You know what? I'll just do it. Steer into the skid.
Exactly.
There we go.
Yeah, we're in.
I'll commit to the bit.
All right, Matt.
So what I have, and I forget one of those Kuzios I remember. So from Fiddens Brewery in Albany, New York, I have a double IPA called The Vegan. A buddy of mine is a big IPA fan, was up there and got me a case of stuff. So working through that. So that's my cold drink. My hot take, and I was thinking about this on my drive back from North Carolina. It's a little bit of a Debbie Downer hot take, but I'm less enthusiastic about these 5 boxes we're getting. The one, I guess we already got one of them in the new Crosshair, but the other 4, I'm starting to waver and question about their impact to the meta as a whole and their ability to kind of get involved quickly. And I think a little bit of that might be recency bias in the sense of we just saw the last couple releases. Every single thing made an impact the second it came out. Like, so maybe that's what it is. I'm hoping that's the case. I just, as I'm driving and just trying to sit here and like list build in my head, I'm trying to force the new stuff in, and I'm excited about it from a casual play. Like, I'm gonna have so much fun with some of these thematic, and not even like saying these are not competitive at all. I just don't know if they're gonna be able to make the kind of impact we saw from things like Leia and Thrawn as the last two releases. And again, I'm hoping it's just those last two releases were so hot and the biggest thing in my head right now that I don't know if the next five are going to impact it at that level. So, and again, I don't know if that's too hot, if that's even that hot of a take. It's a little bit of a negative Debbie Downer one, but it's kind of how I'm feeling about the new stuff. And that was the biggest thing going through my mind. So I hope I'm wrong, but
It's an interesting take because, and I think you're right. It's probably a little bit recency bias informed. Like Iden is a relatively recent release, and Iden, Kanan, Leia, Thrawn all have had an outsized impact in the middle of the year. I don't know if anything necessarily is going to splash and like make the wave that it did, but I think like in bits and pieces there's some like interesting at least pieces to answers to some of it. I do think like armorers kind of like almost like revenge trigger adjacent, but like not, right? Where you're punishing an aggressive player or at least not losing the benefit of what your characters do. And so that's kind of a, I think armor at the very least is an interesting counter meta pick to like very aggressive item lists and keeps core box stuff relevant. Um, Lando, I'm excited about Lando, but I do think Lando's a bit of like a gimmick, right? And most of it's to get Iden stuff to things that don't have Iden. Um, but I think like bits and pieces here and there are going to have impact. I don't know about like, I don't think you'll ever see like the Iden box like on its own. You just throw the box on the table and it just does its thing as well as it does. So I don't think it's necessarily a hot take. I don't think you're wrong, but I don't think it's all the way to it's not going to have that impact.
yeah, and I think the hot take part of it for me was really that I was super on the hype train, and then as I've started trying to fit it in, it's slowly just every time I try, I'm like, man, but I just might as well do this. So I'm hoping to change my mind. And two things as shouts. One, Angry Penguin made a good point that it's probably healthy for the game that everything is not earth-shattering meta. And also, I know Qui-Gon, you've been talking about Lobot a lot. My next like casual game I play is going to be a Lobot list as I want to do. So I'm going to try to change my own mind, but that's kind of where I'm feeling right now. So
Diz, do you have any thoughts before I jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have been paying attention to this only because I secretly like numbers. And I look at the leaderboard
It's the
on Launch
glasses.
Tanks. That's why I was like this. But anyways, I've been
Actually,
I like looking at the leaderboards and seeing like where people are playing certain primaries, especially because a lot of people jump on TTS and they start playing a lot of these games with stuff that's unreleased. If we look back to when Thrawn and Leia were first on TTS and events were being played on TTS, I'm saying this for a reason because they're not out in person, but like they jumped in numbers. Like people were in the hundreds and 200s shortly after they were on TTS. The highest one right now is Armor with a 53. And I don't think there's any like I think Matt's actually kind of right, where it's like I don't think these are really going to be splashing a whole lot into like making waves into the game. And this goes into my hot take, which I'll just say here real quick, and then obviously you can say your bit. But mine is I think that these next releases will do more to the game from list building perspective than they will like a impacting the game state perspective. I think they make list building incredibly interesting because Lando changes a whole lot of things. More Mandos changes a lot of things. Veers changes the Empire scene a little bit. So I think they're like, and the bounty hunters, of course. So like these are bringing more options for your list building and tweaking things left and right. But I don't think they're gonna be like, oh wow, this completely changed the scape of the game. Like Iden, Thrawn, Leia completely just like dominated as soon as they came out as far as like competitive scenes. So
I think you said what I was
yeah.
trying to say a lot more succinctly than how I said it.
I said something succinctly. Oh my god! Like
Comparatively, yes, it's the
Wow.
glasses.
They're making me smart. But yeah, that's my hot take. Really, is I think that these next boxes coming out are going to be impacting the game from a list building perspective more than they are a meta perspective, as far as like they're changing the scape of the game.
Yeah, it's the bits and pieces, like where individual components slot in, versus this box just kills things, and it's great.
Almost, what did you want to say?
Well, this is the hot take section. And so I want to preface this with Matt, I love you.
But everything you said was wrong.
But if I had the option to open up the Rancor pit and drop you into it, I would have just done it because I fucking hate this hot take. But primarily, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just hate that we're having this discussion before the models are even out.
Oh yeah, well,
Fair.
I was trying to find a different hot take for exactly that reason.
It's just like I'm trying to wait and like try not to like decide whether I like the models too much until I can actually play them and not like cement my opinions from theory. But it's also just like I hate being negative on this stuff before it even comes out, especially since none of it's bad. Like it's not like if it'd be different if we were looking at these and like this is just a bunch of shit. Like this is some garbage ass releases. That would be a little different. But there's some interesting stuff in here. And I definitely think that there is going to be some very meta relevant stuff, but it's not going to be obvious. But to me, that's the best kind of release. Like an Iden release isn't necessarily good for the game where it's like, oh, this is just clearly really fucking good. That's not interesting to me. I want the stuff that I gotta do a little problem solving. And I feel like there's some stuff in there like, is Dengar going to open up Mando lists where I can more easily reserve him and not pay a force tax? Like where is like, I feel like there's going to be a competitive Lando list. Like there's got to be at least one, right? There's just too much there. Someone's going to figure that shit out. And, there has to be some stuff here.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to figure it out. And so I'm cold taking your negativity and being like, come on, let's get these models on the fucking table and paint them up and get some hype going.
That's really where like that's really where my hot take comes from. Is I don't necessarily think it's.
You basically agreed with him.
No, I did not. I literally said no. I said what you said basically, but you said it more aggressively. Because you like I'm thinking that they're going to be changing the game in a more list building perspective, and they're going to be going in like bits and pieces, less than coming out and impacting the game with full swing batter. Like that's yeah.
And just to clarify my point, like my hot take isn't that I'm hoping I'm wrong. Like I want to be very clear about that. My thing is that as I've been trying to list build, I'm fortunate. So I start looking at everything from a competitive mindset first. I don't have another real competitive event till LVO. So I have a couple months because I'm not playing in packs, I'm running it. So I'm now trying to have like really get creative and try to challenge myself in the time between now and like the end of the year to come up with some stuff and get outside my own comfort zone. And I want to start with trying to fit, especially some of these bounty hunters, they're designed to kind of slot in. And I just, every time I look at it, I build a list. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that's a really cool list. I want to try that. And then I go, great. How is that going to stack up against all the boogeymen in the meta? And I'm like, oh, I don't think it's gonna. And I hope I'm wrong. And I think the big thing is, again, we're coming off the back of some haymakers in terms of releases, but I hope I'm wrong. And again, it's not really I'm not saying I think they're bad. I'm just saying I'm not where I was 3 weeks ago, a month ago, where I was really hyped on them. My hype is definitely coming back down to earth.
I don't want anyone responding to this and being like, I'm not going to try them now. Right.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't want that walk away. And there's just too much of a risk of that.
No, I get you. And I think Lando is going to go. I think Lando is going to get cool. Yeah, I think there's going to be there's already a lot of really creative list builders in like our greater community. I see some really neat lists that people bring out that do well. And I think Lando is those people who are really outside the box thinkers are just salivating over Lando. And I love it. I want to see it. Like, prove. And I said during my hot take, I hope I'm wrong. I want somebody to prove me wrong. Go prove me wrong and send me the list. Like that's really where again, it's less of a hot take, more as the thing going through my mind right now.
Yeah.
Your hot take should have been, I need a really cool list builder to knock one of these out of the park so that I'm excited to steal your list.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
change my hot take. Hot take alert. Omnis looks weird without his beard. Moving on.
We were all thinking it.
Okay. I do want to add this. Qui-Gon Jinn did say, "I have a list for Omnis, and he needs your right here take with Hunter,
No,
Firebrand."
well,
It's
does it have
oh,
new
it says-
stuff in it?
it does have Lando. It has Lando.
No, we're waiting. Sorry, I love you, Din. I'm not getting into this. I want to put this stuff on the table, and I'm trying to play other things. I've got a con next weekend. I'm trying to like practice things and like play things with the models that I have and explore them. And then I'm going to explore the new stuff as soon as it comes out. I'm hoping to like be painting on the Friday that it comes out and play some of it the next Saturday and talk about it on the show the following Sunday. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hyped for.
I do think like I have yet to put the bounties or anybody even playing like TTS or anything. Like I've been waiting. I've been good. This is weird for me. Like I'm actually like letting the hype wait for me to actually put this stuff on the
You've
table.
tested Veers. We know that.
I did
You've
once.
played
I
that.
played one game.
Hype.
That's a game.
Hype.
Hype. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and move on to what you've been up to. And Omnis, what have you been up to?
Well, getting another beer. Let's do a very small hobby thing first. So I got this tracker from eBay because one thing that you'll notice it's got little magnetic movement, but unfortunately the iWargame tracker was not cost effective for them, and so they're not making any more of them. But there's an Etsy shop in Canada, and this costs like $20. But what I did is I wanted it to be just a little bit easier for me to store. So I put these thin magnets on the back that are only like maybe 1.5 millimeters or so. And now I can just stick it in my iWargame tray, like under the tray or something. And so just a little tiny little hobby thing that I like. So, but oh my God, I've played so much stuff. It's been 2 weeks. You guys are gonna have to bear with me. So I've got like a kind of high, a kind of mid, and a kind of low. Diz, what order do you think I should go in?
Let's start cold with a mid.
Start cold. Okay.
With the mid though.
Wait, the mid. Okay, I played Chewie.
Okay.
The Chewie that comes with Han and the Rebel Commandos, and
Sure.
he's interesting. He's like my mid, where he didn't blow me away, but he was also didn't feel bad either. So I definitely want to get Chewie on the table again. I think I kind of, to be honest, it was a character I was kind of excited about. And then the more I was reading comments on Discord, the more I soured on him without ever giving him a chance on the table. And I wanted to kind of move past that. I'm like, well, if people are playing Callus, like, is the rerolls of Callus comparable to kind of the defensive tech that Chewie offers, was kind of my theory. But I just didn't end up in a game where I could do anything that interesting with him. But I did notice, like, because I was playing him with Leia, I was like, oh, well, there's this cool thing where instead of putting her on the point, what I could have done was double moved Chewie during her turn. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Where during her turn, I put my really tanky secondary on a point and keep her a little bit further back. I was like, oh, I get to think about this shit more in the future. I didn't do it because I didn't realize it until afterwards. But Chewie's interesting. Matt, I feel like you have talked up Chewie before, where you felt like he was solid.
Yeah, so
Or am
I
I
like the
misremembering?
12. No, I mean, so I've been wavering on Chewie. I like the 12 hit points a lot. I love him in kind of more the Leia Ewok shell. I think because
So
it
good.
gives you that bubble protection. Yeah, where I think he struggles more, and where I was trying to get him to fit was in actually as more of a rebel, like trying to put him in more of your general rebel list.
Yeah.
I haven't found his reliability. I mean, he's obviously reliable when you can get him. You know, he gets some shoves, he gets people off points. He fits better in the Ewok shell for me. I love 12 health points. I wish he had a slightly better defense expertise. I know the idea is that he automatically gets that expertise.
Mhm.
I still wish, like, because he doesn't have steadfast, which bothers me. He's this giant thing that can rip your arms off, but yet he doesn't have steadfast. That's kind of where I'm more at. But no, I like Chewie. I think he does a lot for Rebels. I think he got overlooked a lot early because people were like, "Yeah, great, 12 health and doesn't do anything." But
Yeah,
I think he's really solid.
he's worth exploring more.
He's
Accuser,
so
did
cool
you-
with Logray. Like he's the game that Matt and I played with the Leia Logray setup. Like I think Chewie was like an MVP. He gets so much movement from Logray. It was actually nuts. So Chewie definitely has a place, and I don't think people should write him off just because. I mean, yeah, stat block, real cool, but he does a lot too.
So I guess the point I'm going to make is like I wrote him off for all the same reasons that I think everyone else did. I was reading your comments and I agreed with you. Like it logically all made sense. But then how many times do we play a game where you're like, well, my secondary is wounded, so I can't move them back onto a point? Right? Like that happens like every single game. And Chewie is just a little bit harder to wound. And when that matters, I'm like, Aiden can't one-shot him, right? Aiden can't deal 12 damage, right? Like there's just characters who can't deal 12 damage in one go.
Most can't.
Yeah.
I mean, like
and so
most can't.
right. And so there's just that element. And I think there's something there. And so that's definitely a character I would like to explore more. I'm mid. Dizzard, you want me to do like kind of exciting
Let's
or
go.
kind of shit on?
Let's go shit on. Let's shit on something.
Okay.
Jump in the-
I don't fucking understand how anyone likes Lando and R2 after playing them.
What?
I was like,
Get the
these
fuck
are
out of here! No, I'm
No,
overriding you. Get the
stop
fuck
right-
out! No.
Stop right
They
now. I
don't
don't even want to
do
hear the rest.
anything.
Wow.
Absolutely not. We're done.
Oh, they
Cut
can't
his
be
mic.
shot. They don't
Oh my
fucking
God.
do anything.
Are you serious? They shove so well. Like
No,
they're
they
shove
don't.
really
They have
well.
They're
shit
fast.
expertise.
okay. Okay, no. Here's
They
the question
have
for you.
the
Here's
worst
no
expertise in the game.
no. Here's the question for you. Were you shooting with them or were you punching with them? That's a
Both.
big no, because they are melee only. They are a melee only squad.
Well, sometimes
don't
you
shoot
have
with
to
them.
shoot stuff.
No,
Sometimes
they don't.
You are
No,
not
you're
in
gonna do.
range.
You're gonna mingle.
Take
You're gonna
cover.
do whatever you can to get in melee
You're
range because you
you're
can
gonna
only
spend
punch with those
two
guys.
force after they got wounded to like get into melee. You
Angry
don't always
Penguin.
have that
Angry
force.
Penguin says, "How was that not the hot take?" Yeah, seriously, how was that not the hot take? What a shit take. Get out
I'm
of here!
mildly
Like,
frothing. Like that is a terrible take.
I'm
They are
receiving an
such
idea.
cool looking models. They're one of the most disappointing things I've put on the table. Of
What were you
the
playing them
entire
with?
line.
what were you
You
playing?
need a
them
couple
with?
more reps with them. I think.
Luke and
'cause
Leia, Chewie and Ezra. Yeah,
They should have
Chewie
been.
and
They should have been
Ezra,
fine.
and then
They
Rebel
hold
Commandos and-
points. They are only cost
No, they don't.
3. Yes, they
They
do.
just die. They don't. They can't push people off
They
point.
could
Oh
double
my
advance
God.
and take cover. They
Oh
can
my
be on an opponent's
God.
back
And
then
point
they
with
still
no
die.
friction.
Who are
Everything
you?
dies. Like that's.
I don't think I've been more disappointed with a unit. in
I've
this
never
game
been so
far.
disappointed with you. Like, wow.
I like how I
sad.
made the whole rest of the podcast into
Oh,
Rebels.
no. I mean, so we're
It's not even a
officially
Rebels thing. They're
leaving.
just good. They're good value as a 3.
Yeah,
So-
they're better than ISB. Like, like I'm baffled right now. Like,
So
wow.
There's ISB are so much better.
just go back to, and this is why you and I are officially fighting, but go back to the Adepticon episode where I was on Hello There. We were talking about prepping for Adepticon, and I sat there and said, man, I've been playtesting with Bar 2 Lando, and I'm in love with them. Played them at Adepticon. They were better. They were probably the second best unit in my main list for Adepticon behind Maul. They were rock stars. I have been hyping them up. Every time someone says Bar 2 Lando, I go, yep, love those guys.
Have you played them that much recently? Like in
I
this
have.
meta, I feel like
I
they
have.
just die.
I played them
No.
this week.
Played them at-
No.
Diz played him at Nova. He borrowed mine. He took them as hostages and mailed
And-
them back.
Yeah, I had them
Literally
for
just
a
played them this
month.
week. They did great.
Hey, I'm just gonna be honest. Like that was my experience. I could not believe how. It's also part of the problem is I feel like my dice like rolling expertise, and they have such shit expertise.
We're gonna play a new
They do
game
have shit
here.
expertise.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We're gonna play a new game here, and instead of like let's not pass judgment on something until we put it on the table. Let's not pass judgment on something until at least 5 games with it, because man, that is a shit take if I ever heard one. Like, oh my god. Like, okay, so I'll be frank with you. Like, the first time I played Lando and R2, I was like, what is the hype with these guys? They fucking suck. So like my first game with them, right there with you. After like my third or fourth game with them, I was like, okay, I can kind of see what's going on here. And then nowadays, it's like, okay, these guys are pretty sick. Like they do a lot of stuff, but they don't
They
do a lot at the
rule.
same time. Yeah,
Dude,
like,
and then
And
like
I will
run them
fully
with the
admit,
Leia
like,
box too. Like everything in there moves them because they're spies. Like they've got so much play with so many things.
hey, that was my experience with my first game with him. And so totally could be the next time I actually put him on the table, I end up liking him. I'm just being honest. I have to shit on the stuff that was bad for me, so that when I talk about the stuff that did good for me, it doesn't sound as crazy. Moving on to like exceeded expectations.
Can you move on from that? I think that's a whole episode now at that point. There's so much going on right now. Like
Kill the
where
mics,
is
we're
your
done.
where is your evaluation of the game coming from? But no, again,
Playing
I'll
it?
say that's fair. I will say, like, again, like when I played them for the first time, I thought they were absolute trash. I really did. And then after a few games, it was like, okay. So I would implore you, like, keep trying them.
Mhm.
I mean, they're a 3-point unit, right? And
Yeah.
so like sometimes that's going to be the only option.
Yeah.
And because I did actually enjoy playing Luke, there's not a whole like you got to work in a 3 somewhere to play Luke. Luke
And it can't be other
surprised
Luke.
me.
Luke's so fun.
Like so obviously I'm looking at a primary that doesn't actually like move anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And you read about all the complaints for like, well, what happens when you have to jump first, but he needs the jump later on, just reading about all the kind of potential problems that you can run into playing him. And I just didn't feel it at all. Like every time I was like, I loved telling Donovan, and I shatterpointed Luke almost every time my shatterpoint came up, just so I could say to him, you will either profit by this or be destroyed. And I said it to him every single time. And I tried to do my best Luke voice. I was like, you can either profit by this or be destroyed. And he was just like, I feel like he started blushing every time. Like, please shut up, you stupid adult. But I was just like, I was forcing Shatterpoints into him. I'm like, man, this guy keeps exceeding expectations. So I'm just going to like keep trying him out. And every time I was doing it, like Donovan was like, there's nowhere good for me to move. Like, I either just give you the point or I take an additional attack. And I do think my dice were a little above average, where I kept rolling like a combination of crit plus some expertise. And so I was just like always going 2 or 3 down on him on that 5 dice attack. And it was just adding up really quick. And there was a time he got up, he was like got onto the point so he could melee me. But then Luke was just like, fuck it, I'll just like heal and jump back on the point. Fuck you. And it was like, Luke is better than I expected. He's one of those characters you kind of look at him and you're like, you never you always think, oh, it's better, I'll just play Kanan or I'll just play Leia, or you just keep putting other stuff in that slot. But when he's actually on the table, I think he feels better than what he looks like on paper, if that makes sense.
I agree with that. I do want to add though, I do think a lot of people kind of overlook you can either profit from this, because people just look at it as a way for him to get another attack, when it's literally just you can play it absolutely just a way to get him that extra movement to get him where you actually need to be. Because it just says an active objective. It doesn't have to have enemy guys on it. It doesn't have to have that. You just gotta be within 2 of it. So it can also just be a force for dash, if you're playing it in that way. So I think that it gets overlooked from that tool aspect of it and how much of a tool it is, versus people just focus on I gotta jump and I don't get to abuse the jump.
Yeah, I felt like my dash portion of it was always better than my opponent's dash portion of it. They were like, where the fuck am I going to go? And then they're like, I guess I'll go here. I'm like, cool, I moved to the other side of you for a great push angle. Get the fuck off. Like, it was great. And so he's a person that I'm going to force myself to get some more games with, because even though I don't know how he fits into any like list where I'm like, oh, kind of like what Matt was saying earlier, where you're like, if I build a list with him, like, how does it compare to these other meta things? And like, that's how I feel about Luke whenever I'm building. But when I was playing him, I'm like, man, this guy's just doing good work. And that And that's what I'm trying to challenge myself with. So Luke, I would like to try again.
I
Anybody else have Luke thoughts?
I've been really I still play him and I still think that like he's like one of the best options into Empire right now. He really is. Like he's got deflect, he's got mobility on himself, and he can hit like a truck. So he can basically chase who he needs to chase and take out people and take out multiple people if you really want to off of points. And he hits hard. Like he can hit hard and some people are like, oh, he's just dice. He still does what 5-on-3,
He's
which
got
is
great
pretty
expertise.
good.
Like he's got really
Yeah.
good expertise. It was
Oh,
funny, like Donovan was
he's
playing
great.
Vader too, and I was playing Luke, and he was complaining about my Luke.
Yeah. Well, and
Right? He
that's
was
the
like,
thing though too, right?
what the
Is
fuck is
like
going on?
when you look at Luke, Luke is one of the very few. I think it's what 4 characters with 11 health. That means that like Vader can only one shot him if he has access to Dark Troopers with coordinated fire strain. Iden can't one shot him. Like those 11 health characters are more than likely not getting one shot, which means they're gonna have that longevity to be able to push harder. So like I love Luke into Empire right now. I think he is like 100% like one of the Empire answers, and I think he's being kind of not looked at in the way he should be.
Yeah, I dig him. Accuser, you had thoughts?
Oh yeah. Keep playing him because I think Luke's really rewarding, especially as you learn how to like position the dash is just amazing. Any model that can attack the same thing twice as well is worth looking at. I think that's very few models in the game get to attack the same target twice in their activation, even if it is just 5 dice. I do think that you should try him out. Keep trying Lando R2 for sure. The 4 slot is where it gets really interesting though, and I definitely think like give Ezra a try because Ezra likes being near a Force user, and that's just a
That's
little bit
who
of
I
extra
was trying
mobility
him
out of it.
with. Yeah,
Oh,
that was
perfect.
where I started. I think I'd like to try him with some Empire stuff too.
Yeah.
Just for like variety of trying other 3s and 4s. But
Yeah, you
yeah, I think
absolutely
he's
should try with scoundrels as well. Because
yeah.
I think Luke Lando, I think there could be interesting stuff down the road with that, and you could be prepared for it. Don't think about
Yeah,
it too
even
much
like
now because that's breaking your rule, but I think there's
yeah, like
scoundrel
you
play
could do
later.
like the Bespin guards, right? And then like
Hmm.
pick a
You could.
4, like maybe even do like a bounty hunter thing where
Hmm.
you play like Dengar and the Bespin guard. Like there's a bunch of stuff.
If
I'm
we want
definitely
to
want to put him on the
Bosk.
table
if
more.
you want to talk future stuff, I am looking at Dengar under Luke. Like
Oh,
that's
that's
where I'm
cool.
going. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we spiral out of that, I do want to shout out one squad that I've now played a couple of times, and it was. I'm not going to say that I created it. I'm sure other people have played this, but it's as soon as I put it on the table, it exceeded expectations. Luminara, Crosshair, Fifth Brother had so much fucking synergy that it blew away all of my expectations. Where Crosshair literally ended up winning me a game because Fifth Brother was pinned, but I set it up where Crosshair like moved, climbed, got himself within range. So he was up on a terrain piece, but within range 2 of Fifth Brother. And so he shoots and kills Bo-Katan and also heals Fifth Brother, repositions back onto the point, and then Luminara's ability triggers after that. And so then the pin is removed from the recovers on the crosshair tree so that I could also move Fifth Brother onto the point to win the game. And it was just so much cool stuff going on. I was like, this is a trio that I have to play more. This felt spectacular. So
the Fifth Brother part's that interesting. I mean, I will say, I mean, I've been saying that Luminara, if you're playing Luminara, in Empire or in Republic, you should be playing Crosshair, and if you're playing Crosshair, you should be playing Luminara. If you're not doing those two together, you're wrong. I've never tried it with
but I don't
Fifth Brother.
disagree.
I think it's I think Luminara loves Crosshair. The two of them, I've never put a Hunter list on the table that with Luminara or anything with Luminara at this point. I mean, Lumi can fit in spots, but if I have Crosshair in my list, Lumi's in the list as well.
Yeah.
The Fifth Brother is really interesting. But I see exactly why. I mean, I get it 100%. I've been normally running that squad as Lumi, Crosshair, 212, but that's because I'm putting it in a full Republic Premier list. So like, obviously I'm limited on supports. I mean, I'm going to try it now because it sounds fantastic. You're doing everything.
It sounds
I
really
wanna
cool.
do.
Because it sounds tag agnostic. You can run it with anything.
Yeah, you can run it with almost anything. I healed So fifth brother never got wounded because I did a total of like 16 heals on him over the course of the game. So he never got wounded, and I kept removing conditions. At one point, he was 1 away from being wounded with a condition on him, and I like just kept between Lumi and like it was nuts. Like it was so much synergy where he just is the perfect character. Like a recover on him does more than like it does on almost anyone else. And it was just like this is just such a cool trio. I have to play this more. And it also like made Hunter insane. When Hunter's like, I will move someone onto the point, plus kill 2 things, plus move someone else onto the point. It is fucking nuts. Like, so good. I have to play this more.
I like it. I'm on board. I'm gonna
All
try
right,
it.
that's
Going into a list.
I know that was a lot. I had 2 weeks. I love you guys. Thank you for putting up with me.
All right, let's move into Matt. What you been up to?
What I've been up to is emotionally recovering from the Bar 2 Lando slander that I just had to sit through.
Yeah, that was some slander Calrissian there.
What I've really been up to, so I have not gotten any Shatterpoint this week. I was traveling, I was out of town. Most of what I've been doing is finalizing the PAX Unplugged packet, and working with and what I've been up to is I'm going to actually ask the community for some help here. We are running a charity event at our local store in November. We all the funds and proceeds, everything goes to we buy toys for the local children's hospital. But what we're doing is we're doing a charity event in the sense where you buy in-game effects with real dollars, right? So I'll put the full list up on our Discord, but I want to get some ideas from people because I'm looking to flesh this list out a little bit more. I have things like pay $1, reroll a die 1 time. You can do as many times as you want. I have things. So one of the cool ones is you pay $5, you can put a second card in reserve. Pay $10, you can remove an injured or wounded token from a character. You can spend money to refresh force. You can place a ladder on the table that stays there for the game. So I'll put the full list up, but I'd love to get some people's ideas. We have a couple more weeks to get this total thing done, but we have a lot of fun with this, and it's something that they've done with 40K and other game systems. It's the first time we're doing this with Shatterpoint, so I'm really excited to see how it works out. But I wanted some cool stuff, some things that are the whole idea is right. Like I do something that you're gonna like, well, crap. Now I got to pay $1 to do something, right? So, I'm curious in that. And the other thing I'm also gonna do is because it's a charity event, I want to play something goofy. So I'm gonna put up a poll in our Discord, and I'm going to let the community pick my list for this event. So just as a heads up as well. And Omnis,
Hope
I
it
saw
doesn't
your.
suck.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, look, we all do like our local store like this. We do unranked stuff on purpose. Obviously, our unrated. Also, it's a charity event. It's gonna be goofy as is. So I'm curious. And then Omnis, you indicated you had something.
So it was just the first thing that came to mind is we had an event like this in the War Machine community that was like canned food drive, and you weren't paying money, but you were like donate X amount of cans of food, get special effects. For the people who want to just fundamentally play Shatterpoint, the rule that made it great for them is that they could donate the exact same amount as their opponent to cancel out the effect that they were getting.
Ooh.
So you could be like, oh, I put $10 in to get this effect. Your opponent can spend $10 to negate that effect. So for the person who just really wants to play normal Shatterpoint, but also donate, they can spend their money to counter when people donate.
I like that.
As a quick aside, as back to the 40K days, and when I had my store, we used to do my uncle ran a local food bank, so we used to do a canned food drive for 40K events. We had this one guy, Bill, one of the nicest guys, was not a very good 40K player, lost almost every event, decided he wasn't going to lose, and we were doing, instead of paying dollars, right, it's a canned food. He went to the Aldi next door and rolled 2 shopping carts full of canned foods and said, I suck at this game, but I'm not losing today. That event, we donate. It took us 2 pickup trucks to drive all of the canned foods to the food bank, to give you an idea, because it weighed that much. So
fucking awesome.
Yeah, right. You have so much fun with these, and like it's a great cause for a local store. So I'm looking for more ideas to have it fun. I love the idea of cancellation. in the chat. You know, Cliff Jumper, same thing. Like it's that we're probably gonna do like obviously you buy the chips, right? Is what you're talking about. It's gonna be you're gonna basically a tally. Like I want to reroll 3 dice. Great, you owe $3 to the pot, like type thing. So. Yeah, so I'll post all this in the Discord. I'd love to get feedback from the community, more good ideas. I'm on board. So
What was
that's
the
what I've been up
charity
to.
again?
So it's a local children's hospital. The store goes and buys toys and takes them down. Like the children's hospital gives a list, like, hey, we'd like stuff like this, and they go and just buy and fill in what the hospital wants, and they drive them down, drop them all off. Last year, I know they dropped off. They did it for like 4 game systems last year, and I think they said they dropped off 200 toys.
Wow.
Their 40K group, though, they were like, yeah, our 40K group raised like $500 at that event. Those guys went insane.
That's
Would
awesome.
you, maybe this is a little extreme, but like if a player went out and like got a toy store to like sponsor them and like donate X amount of dollars worth of toys, they're like, hey, I'm going to do this charity event. Will you like donate X dollars of toys in my honor? And then like they get to blow all those effects. Like, would you
Yeah,
allow
absolutely.
something like that?
100%. The point of this is to have fun and do something goofy and just for a good cause, right? Like, there's a reason I'm going to let the community pick my list because I don't care. I'm planning on going with a budget and be like, I'm going to try to make something work. It's going to have a lot of fun. Try to find a way to abuse the rule because one of them is like $5. You can just give a unit during deployment, just give a unit a tag for $5. So like I could take Padme's box and be like, well, I want them all to be Empire. I'm gonna pay $15 every round to make them Empire or something like that. So or I'm gonna make them Ewoks. Like, so I'm gonna have Logray and Queen Amidala as Ewoks.
You better pull out your phone if you get into like say someone's trying to do that. You're like, I've built this fucking like Iden plus other thing list and I want to like make them Galactic Empire. And they're like, I spend $15 to make this other unit all Galactic Empire. And then the other side goes, I spend $15 so you can't. And just like record it going back and forth and see where it stops. Like, I want to see that shit. You better show it to me. I need it in my like right into my veins.
This is one where it's like I definitely need to live vicariously. Please, like, post live what's happening because especially if you add the cancellation, I want to see how fast that goes.
So you talk about like $10 put a condition. So what we're doing is for $3, you can add a shove or condition to a spot on your tree during the combat resolution.
Every attack. Like
we did it once per activate. So some are once per turn. So some are once per activation. Some are once per struggle. Like you can buy a force for $3. That's once per struggle. Again, I'll put the full list up for what we're doing. Some are like once per game type things. So
what's the timing on paying for that condition drop? Because if they're on 1 HP, you better believe I'm paying for it.
So yeah, I have all the timings on like when these things happen as well, so it's clear.
Okay, I don't know what this should cost, but what if you had something where X dollars at the start? I don't know. You create when it can happen, but you change a model on the table for something that is an equal. That would be legal in the list, but the same amount. But you could just be like, well, all of a sudden Ezra is Chewie, or something like.
Oh, that'd be fun. Right?
Just
You see a
swap
matchup
a
like,
list
man, I really
component,
want this.
sideboard.
Yeah. Oh, a sideboard.
Yeah.
I like this. Yeah, I mean, look, the whole idea is I'm trying to keep the abilities at lower cost because if my gaming has taught me anything, microtransactions get people to spend money.
Yeah.
So if I give them 10 options that are all $1, they're like, it's only $1. Next thing you know, they're $30 in the hole in round 1.
But yeah, I was just like imagining all of a sudden like, oh man, can you imagine all of a sudden like Anakin turning into Darth Vader? Like how cool would that be if like you know what? Vader's faster. Boom. Anakin becomes Vader. Like, oh, that would be fun. I don't know what that would cost or like when you would do it, but
do you have one? Adding tags is cool during deployment. Do you have one to add eras? Because I think that could be really spicy too.
Ooh, I like that too. Let's see. Here we go.
Sitting here thinking about like, man, I'd love to run Hondo and Ezra together, and I just can't. Oh wait, maybe I could.
Move an objective. Like I want to dash I'm going to pay some money to dash the objective. Well, I like that. That could get fun. Yeah. All right. I'll be
That
posting.
one's got to be a pricier
that.
one.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
I'm morally opposed to dashing an objective because of Marked Mats or the life. I'm just
Not anymore.
Now we're really
Your
fighting.
opinion
Sorry,
does
Matt,
not
we
matter,
were agreeing on
Mr.
too much hype
Bartu.
for a moment. I had to we were supposed to have a rivalry going.
All right.
You're-
So that's what I've been up to.
Yeah.
So sorry to derail us all there.
All right.
No, that's fun though. That's a
No,
really
that sounds so
one.
cool. You have to we expect updates for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to Accuser. What you been up to?
I'll keep it short and sweet. I played one game. I did Leia Mando again, and I ran it with Lobot. Sorry, Omnis, plug your ears. Lobot's really cool. I think there's a cool place for him. Yeah, and
I want to
built-
interrupt you real quick because I got so much shit for calling him Lobot, and now
called
everyone
him Lobo. It's
nope,
Lobot.
nope. I don't know
You
what you're
said
talking
Lobo.
about. No, you guys all said Lobo, and I said Lobot. You guys are wrong. Like,
Dude, there's
Did
audio.
you spend money to rewrite history as an effect, and I just missed it?
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, continue.
But also, Accuser is pro Lobot, so he's in Club Lobot. You
Have
are
been the whole
not
time.
in Club Lobot, and so I'm not even sure you get to say his name. Diz.
I don't even know who it is.
But
You
yeah,
don't
he's
wanna be
super
with the
cool.
cool DJ.
Yeah, he's super cool. His trousers are great. Like he's just snappy dressed. Goes well with Lando on the table. No, but I really like Lobot. He does some interesting stuff, and I like him, especially. Again, I'm just plug your ears with Lando Bartu. I think that's a really fun combination. It's cool to have a 5 threat that goes with that particular 3 pretty well. Otherwise, I built some high ground terrain, so working on my second high ground kit. That's what I've been up to. Keep it
Ooh.
brief.
I played
I'm
Thrawn.
just saying, all the subject of buying terrain. I just want to I picked up another my third core set during the Amazon Prime special because I got it super cheap so that I could
Prime
get
Day
a little
deals
bit
were
more
super
terrain.
good.
But also I've offered all of the other stuff in it for $50 to the new person who's a college student. I mean, I just wanted
That's
the
great.
terrain. You give me $50. I will give you all the models, all the cards, all the dice, all the templates so that you have an easier introduction into the game. I just really want the terrain. If you don't need it, no problem. I'll do alternate color schemes or something. It's no big deal. But yeah, so I was just you mentioning terrain. I was like, oh yeah, I was kind of excited about that.
Terrain gets me very excited, so please interrupt for that one. I'm excited to have a second high ground. So
I missed the hobby episode, and I'm very sad.
Also, from a community building thing, Omnis, the thing you just did is going to potentially get you a lifetime player. So
Yeah,
that's the hoorah there. So
Yeah, and I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet as well. And I played Thrawn because Sarah Cool is hot on my heels to try and take the crown of Thrawn. So gotta get at least one game in a week to keep him from snagging it from me. But
oh
there
man,
we
when
go.
you're at the top, there's only one way to go from there.
I know, right? But that's it. Let's go ahead.
Are you above
and...
600 yet?
No.
Does it even count then?
Yeah, it's above 500 is where it counts.
Sure.
What are you
I'm
talking
just
about?
trying to be the villain this episode.
I know, right?
The real
You're the
episode
heel
needs-
now. Barty, what the hell? I can't. I'm still just wow.
Blows my mind.
All right, real
not
quick
okay.
in the chat and those listening, go ahead and message in the Discord. What's worse, the pronunciation of Lobo/Lobot, or
Sorry, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not in Club Lobot.
or
You can
Omnis's
shit on
take
me for my takes, but
or
Lobot
Omnis's
does not come
take
out of your
on Bartu. So which one was
Bartu's
worse?
literally half our thing. He's cold drinks and he's on the table.
Anyways, let's go ahead and move into today's main topic. I know we're going to be running kind of long today, but we got a lot to cover. Omnis, take it away.
Okay, so main topic is playing from behind. And so I thought it'd be kind of a fun way to start this off. I'm just kind of going to ask each of you where you think you rank yourself on your ability to stay in the game, strategize, find ways to come from behind. How good are you at playing from behind? And to give yourself a chance to think about it, I'm going to rate myself. So I'm going like 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. I think I'm pretty good at it. I think I'm an 8. I in the past in like War Machine, there was a number of things where I'm like, pretty sure I've lost. Let me go for this Hail Mary that gives me a chance, and in the last tournament that I was playing in, like there was 2 turns in a row I was 1 away from losing struggle 1, and I came back to win struggle 1. So I feel like I stay into it, but I also get myself a little psyched up, and so I don't think I'm perfect at it, and I could be better, but I feel like I'm good. Dizzard, you raised your hand. How do you rank
You raised
yourself?
both
Are you
hands.
good or bad at this?
I just want to clarify first. Are we talking about in gaming in general, or what are we talking about here?
Shatterpoint. Playing
Okay.
Shatterpoint. How
Because
good are you?
because you had mentioned War Machine, and
And
I
I
saw
thought
like,
I was a
okay,
little
well, are
better
we?
at it in
Yeah.
War Machine.
Well, 'cause, like for me, it's
I've
like I
got-
look
go ahead,
at.
Dizzard.
I look at like I played X Force for 2 years. I know how to play from behind. So that's kind of like where like my
Well,
point of
that's
reference
because you
was gonna
never
be.
win.
Yeah,
That's different.
so it's like that was like very much my frame of reference is like I'm so used to playing from behind because
Yeah.
I played shitty teams.
But no, in Shatterpoint,
Um,
how good are you? I'll give you another second to think about it. Matt, do
Yeah.
you know
Yeah,
how to
so-
rate yourself in Shatterpoint?
Yeah, so I mean, this may be one of the scenarios where 90% of people consider themselves above average driver, right? So obviously they're wrong, but I would say I'm. So I think to clarify in my mind at least, and maybe I'm extrapolating too much on your topic. There are two scenarios of playing from behind. There is the I have to win the struggle or I lose the game because it's like struggle 2 and you lost struggle 1, or it's struggle 3. And then there's the I won struggle 1, I'm behind the struggle 2. Like, when do I start repositioning? When do I start playing for the future? I tend to find I feel like I'm pretty good at the 3-dimensional chess of Shatterpoint, which is I think what you need to do to come back from those big things. I think the hardest thing for any player is to know when to evaluate that I have to make that haymaker, like you described, right? I'm in this position
Okay,
where
I don't want to
I
get
have
super
make
into
the-
detail here, like because we have a lot of stuff to go through. This is just rate yourself.
Oh,
You don't have to give a lot of explanation right now.
you
You have
gave what,
plenty of
8 out of
chances to
10?
say all those other things.
You gave an 8
I was
out
going
of 10.
8 out of 10. I felt like I'm good at it, but definitely still have room to grow.
I'm gonna do 8.1 out of 10.
Okay. Dizzard walked away. Accuser, how do you rate yourself?
I'd probably say maybe a 6 or 7, depending on A, the struggle, B, what I'm playing. If I know what I'm playing pretty well, probably significantly higher.
All right. Well, Dizzard's not here, so we're just going to move on to the next spec. So
He's
we're
got like
not
a
going to
3
fuck around.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3. Everyone good with 3 for Dizzard?
3.
I'm
Okay.
fine with it. It's not going in my spreadsheet.
Wait.
All right, Dizzard, how do you rate yourself?
Honestly,
for
I would
playing from behind?
say I would say a 9. I honestly think I'm just so used to shitting the bed that I have to play from behind because I suck so much. Like it's really what it is. Like I learned how to play because I sucked for like I was just bad.
Well, and so I do want the listeners, like obviously we've all rated ourselves fairly high. I want the listener to genuinely think about it because I feel like the vast majority of games that I'm playing, I feel like opponents give up faster than they should.
Mhm.
And I can tell playing someone, I'm like, you're checking out. Like, you are not giving your all anymore. You are going, I've lost this struggle. I've lost this game. And you are no longer thinking is hard. And I see it a lot in people. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about here is all the different things that factor into this. And so I'm also going to do another roundtable, and this is why I kind of interrupted Matt, because we're going to kind of talk about some of the things that help you come back. And so I'm just going to start off with one. I'm not going to mention a whole list because I don't want to like steal answers from everyone else. But so thinking about things that would help you come back. And so for me, the first one that comes to mind is just the ability to swing multiple points. That could be the ability to move multiple characters in a single activation. That could be Maul can shove someone off a point with a lightsaber throw, double move, and then yank someone off a point. It's the ability to interact with multiple points is a big part of being able to come back when you're behind. Dizzard, what jumps out to you first as like something that you want to have in your toolbox, or something that you should be looking for in the character that you have to activate to be able to make comeback plays?
Understanding the difference between landing the struggle cube on 1 or 0.
Yeah, keeping a very good count. Like that's a very important thing. I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot, where you're like, stop and look at exactly where it ends. Sometimes you would rather it ends on 1 than 0 to give yourself an extra momentum.
Yeah,
Good
like
shout
giving
there. Accused.
shirking taking over a point might actually be more beneficial now for the long run than like the immediate gain.
Yep. Accuser, what's something that jumps out to you as a tool to start your comeback? So think just for the like, let's just think struggle 1 at the moment. You're behind. You still think it's important to win struggle 1. Your opponent's like 1 away from winning. What sort of stuff are you thinking about?
Honestly, because the thing I'm always going to equate it to for me is playing Kanan or Hera and understanding their tools and what you have in your tool belt to make Hail Mary plays. Um, I feel like I probably lean on that a little bit more than I should, but knowing like Hera's a big one because she's got some really cool ways to move models and she can do it for free on her combat tree, and understanding what the odds are of being able to do it on her combat tree versus like paying the force and everything. I think that facilitates a lot of like ability to come back. So knowing your kit and knowing what levers you have to pull to affect multiple points at once.
I'm going to do a little summary for Accuser there because I want to be a little bit more succinct in what I think you were trying to say. And this was something I learned in War Machine. When I was behind, I would stop and I would reread my cards. Right? Where I'm like,
Always.
do I have an out that I'm forgetting? Is there some interaction that I'm forgetting? And I think fundamentally what you're saying is know your team inside and out. So you know all of the little tricks. Like how often does Kanan move and get to move Ezra back onto a point? Right? Like it's a thing that we all know can happen, but it's very easy to forget in the moment because they don't end up on the same point that often.
Hail Marys are not random chance. Hail Marys are understanding what tools you have and how to apply them when the situation is less than optimal.
Okay. Matt, what's something that jumps out to you?
So the biggest thing to me, as you already said, is ability to impact multiple points. I'm going to add two more items to that. The second one being the ability to get a wound. When I grade any unit in the game, I look at them on their ability to get a wound and their ability to impact multiple points. The impact multiple points being the first thing I look at. The third thing I'm going to add to this is knowing when to make the risky play. We hear so many times, and especially with these with like ISF and Rebel commandos who have the infiltrate, where people say, well, watch getting too aggressive. Or early on in the game where we had so many clone troopers, it was not running your ARFs out, right, to get wounded. You need to be a good evaluator. And it kind of also compiles with Diz's point of knowing where to end the momentum or the struggle tracker. But your ability to say, hey, look, this is a risky play, but I need to win this. And it's balancing that risk versus reward. And I think it largely comes to, am I up against it where if I lose this struggle, I'm out of the game, or I lose this struggle because it's the first one, because obviously winning struggle 1's really big. It's being able to make that assessment on the fly as a player that you need to get comfortable with. And I think it starts with knowing your list's ability to impact multiple points. So you need to know, like, hey, my list can come back because I can do a ton of movements. I don't have to make the big play now. Or it's, hey, my list doesn't play well from behind. I need to this activation here needs to be my bread and like this needs to make my struggle or I lose this. So I think your ability to judge when you have to put the chips all in and go for it.
Go ahead, Diz.
I just wanted to add one more because I was hoping somebody else would hit it. Understand the tank and what it feels like to be in the tank, so you know how to pull yourself out of the tank.
Elaborate on what you mean by tank.
So, if anybody's never heard the term tank before, typically what it means is you are staring at the board endlessly, trying to figure out what it is you're trying to do. You're stuck in your mind, your mind being the tank, and it's like you can't commit to a decision, and you're going everywhere and trying to. You're just spending so much time. You're wasting clock. You're wasting precious thought processes. And the biggest thing you could do is if you find yourself and you start realizing you're tanking yourself. Take a step back, turn around, don't look at the board for like 5 to 10 seconds, and then turn back around and re-engage. Just like basically give yourself a different perspective. And I think understanding the tank and understanding when you yourself are in the tank is one of those pivotal skills that'll help you when you are playing from behind, because it's too easy to fall into that.
Okay, go ahead, Matt. I still have like 3 things on
So
my list,
no, you're
so I
good.
thought you
So
guys were gonna hit them. I was like,
no,
go
you're
ahead.
good. So re quick to counter that. I don't know how much that has to do with coming back from behind. Um, in back in sports and school, right, we used to call it the one no mentality, where you're only thinking about the moment you're in right now. You just want to win this moment. I don't know if the tank changes. That's something that is applicable for every game state. I've seen people who are way ahead go deep in the tank and lose themselves in that spiral. So and again, I don't disagree. I think that's a tool that
Sure sounded
every
like
player needs to figure out and put in their arsenal. I just playing devil's advocate. I don't think it apply. I don't think it has a higher weight when you're playing from behind than it does when you're playing from ahead. The tank is scary and players get lost in it all the time. I don't necessarily think that's something I'm noting as I'm behind. I need to do that. I need to focus on this to get back ahead. So just I'm just yucking your yum. So
That's fair.
I will say, I don't like defending Dizzard, but I will say that there are moments where you should also be keeping track of the amount of time left in the round. Like obviously maybe struggle 1 it doesn't always apply. But if you're trying to win struggle 2 and you go deep into the tank when things are already getting close to mission critical, knowing that if you spend too much time thinking about this activation, that you may like cause yourself to lose struggle 3 or make it go to tiebreakers, could be a thing that you should keep in mind, where you're like, I don't have that much time to think about it because this is already, we were playing sabotage, struggle 1 fucking went on forever. So there is that element. So I have a couple things that I wanted to include here, but I didn't want to read off my whole list in case you guys wanted to hit them. So I'm going to do one, and if anyone gets inspired to shout out another, just like raise your hand, then I will get to you. So the other one that I have, and this was something I noticed a lot, and this was, I felt like I was playing from behind a lot in my local tournament. The things that saved my fucking ass was Han and Rebel Commandos shoving and pinning people. And so it shut off my opponent's ability to make big counter plays. So as I was climbing back, they're like, okay, well, I'll move this person onto the point with my move. I'm like, they're pinned. Okay, I'll move that. No, they're pinned too. And like, so the ability to cripple your opponent's ability to make big plays also plays into this a big amount, and pin's a huge part of it. Could be a low health character that's strained. That's also something that can accumulate into like allowing you to claw back. Um, um, Matt, did you have something,
so
or was you
I'm
just
I think it's great. So like you said, so I'm gonna add another thing onto something to think about to come back is knowing where you are in the order deck. And I hope I actually hit one of those ones you had in your back pocket. But
nope?
a big thing also is, well, so I think one of the biggest things that
No, you're
impacts
right. It is a
struggles
good one. It's
is,
just not one I
yeah,
wrote down.
so it's where your primaries are and where the Shatterpoint card is. Because a lot of times you might sit there and go, man, I still have primaries and Shatterpoints coming up, or my opponent does, or knowing exactly what you said, right? Like my opponent has this model coming up. Well, I want to, maybe it helps me get ahead if I neuter that model's activation or that unit's activation. So let me focus on them, even though it might not be the exact optimal thing in that moment to win, to get a bunch of momentum, or move the struggle tracker on that turn, but it sets you up for other turns. So I think that's a big thing as well, is knowing where you are. And I loved what you said about the time in the round. I think that's super important. Knowing the game state, and I think the game state is time in the round and where the order deck is. I know me personally, at the start of every activation in my mind, I go, what does my opponent have left in their deck? And if you have ever played a game against me, I start a lot of my turns. If I'm not 100% confident, I ask my opponent. Even if I'm 100% confident, it's a little bit of a mind game, because like I just want my opponent to also repeat back to me so they know I'm thinking about this. But I always ask my opponent, like I'm always checking my opponent's deck every turn. The first thing I do is, what do they have left? What could come up next? So
Matt, what's great is, sorry, Dizzard, I got to do this one because it's so perfect. Matt, I feel like you and I are often like the two different sides of the same coin, because you added something to mine and you kind of made mine like a kind of like mini subcategory. And the next thing on my list actually fits into your subcategory, which is force management. Right? Like when I made the swing against the Empire player, but by the way, big shout out to Garrett. Fantastic player. I met him back in the War Machine community. He was a close friend of the guy who was the TO for Mock Sporting House. Garrett, fantastic guy. We finally got to play a game. But one of the things that helped me is that he was playing Iden and Thrawn, and he was down to one force. And so having someone who's one away from winning, but low on force is another factor in like game state where you might be going, oh, fuck, I'm losing. But you go, wait a second, they don't have a lot of explosive plays left. And so keeping an idea of where you are both at force wise can play into your ability to make a big comeback. The one other thing that I had on my list, or Dizzard, did you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I got one. Okay, so this one's a little. I'm not gonna lie, this one's a little fuckery. But
Let's bring
let's
on the
bring on the
fuckery.
fuckery.
It is rogue support.
Bringing attention to things that really don't matter, and like just kind of directing your opponent's attention and playing that little mind game with them of being like, man, I really hope I get this point over here on the right while you're like focusing more on the left side of the board or something like that. So it's super simple stuff like that, like just like out, like calling out certain weird things that really have no like pertinence for the game state, but because it directs their attention away from where you're actually trying to focus your main efforts.
Okay, good shout. My last one for this area is keeping a very close eye on the sort of triggers that you have that go off during your opponent's turn. This is one where like your opponent's about to win, but you remember that Mando can move to a different spot and disrupt scoring. Or it could be revenge triggers. It could be any number of things. It could, anything that happens during your opponent's turn, just keep those things at your forefront. Disrupt any point that you could possibly disrupt just to like help you claw back. Matt, it seemed like I inspired you a little bit with that one.
That's more I was laughing because I'm going to play the same devil's advocate. I think that's something that people should do whether you're ahead or behind. Like, that doesn't necessarily feel like a I'm behind thing. Now, granted, when you're behind, you have to make better plays. When you're the person behind, you need to be the better
Matt,
player.
fucking everything on this list is something that applies in both cases.
Yeah,
So
but that's true.
You're saying that like the ability to swing
fair.
multiple points doesn't
It's
also
only if you're
apply
losing.
just all the time.
Nah,
This is only.
It's
good
only
when
if you're
you're
playing.
losing.
It's only if you're playing
Of
bar
all
2.
these things are good, but these are the things to focus in on, right?
You're right. I mean, I still think the keys are flipping multiple points in the game state, but you're right. I absolutely.
My point here, though, is also you need to think about what goes into your list. Like, are you making lists that can actually play from behind? And that's part of what we're getting here to is you got to make a list that can play from behind.
And that was the second part of my ref comments to you, or you just cut me off before I got.
You just
there.
wanted to shit on me first.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
It's the.
I'm on board.
I did the reverse compliment sandwich where I shit on you, then I'll give you something good, then I'll shit on you again. But no, I think list
is
building.
Is that a compliment sandwich?
No, it's a shit sandwich. But no,
I often name my sandwiches after the bread too.
You motive, but like no, you like what your statement made me set was what I was gonna say was I think a lot of coming back from behind starts at that turn 0 of you need to build a list that has, and some people I know some players who are like, I want to build a list that's all gas, no brakes. And it works for them. I've watched those lists succeed. And I know other players who will say, I want to play control. I want to just react to everything you're doing. If I get behind, that's fine. But exactly to what you're saying, Omnis, is you need to know the capabilities of your list. And I do think you should start at turn 0. When you're building your list, you should be thinking about, how do I play us from ahead? How do I play us from behind? And obviously, it's more important to know how you play it from behind, because if you're ahead, you're already ahead. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about how I play from behind than how it plays from ahead. And I think it starts the day before when you're building the list or at turn 0. So it was my nice way of building on what you were saying.
Wasn't very nice, but I get what you're saying.
It was my snarky asshole way of building.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha. Dizzard?
All right. So this one is going to be, you could play with this mindset whether you're winning or losing. Unlike everything else we've talked about, this one goes both ways, and that's going to be your positioning and making sure that your positioning is 100% on key, because you could absolutely just throw yourself into the losing seat because you didn't measure out an angle, or you didn't measure out how far someone's going to be pushed, like pulling someone's low gray into your Django, and probably what lost you the game. There's also situations very similar to that where you can position stuff on points underneath terrain, and then your opponent just forgets they're there, or you forget your opponent's characters are in certain spots because terrain is blocking them. So always get up and look around the sides of the table to see positioning of characters before you make any major moves, because maybe that spot you just went to go take had somebody on it that you could not see, and now you're not doing anything with your turn, or vice versa, your opponent didn't see. And maybe that positioning of under that gantry is the best place to put your character because they can't see it from that angle.
So, first off, snarky part. But Dizzard, doesn't that apply when you're winning or losing?
That's why I said at the beginning.
I was attacking Matt, not you.
Wait,
it was fine.
is that about me?
I did it at the beginning, though.
Okay. I cannot believe that I've never done this, but you inspired a thought that I actually think is really good in this moment. Do you know how often that you go and you're like, I have a free dash activating this character, but I can't get anyone on to a point that matters? It just fucking occurred to me in this moment. You know how when you're on the high ground, you always position kind of like in front of that door, so there's kind of like one angle to push you off a point? What if you fucking dash someone to the bottom, like just so that if someone tries to push you off, that your character is in that spot, right? So they can't actually push you off the objective. I've never done it in a game, and it just like, obviously I'm checking and going, oh, sometimes you go, oh, you can't push me off because my character's there. But I've never intentionally moved one of my characters to a spot to block someone being pushed off of an elevated spot.
I've done it a bunch, mostly when I play with Separatists. I feel like Separatists have the most out of action movement, but I've absolutely I'm going to move this random B1, B2, Magna, whatever, to this spot here solely to stop you from shoving somebody off the point. Yeah. But
I can't believe, I'm embarrassed that I haven't thought of this before now.
Yeah,
but it's
a scrub.
but so some of this goes to turn 0 versus coming back from behind, but it's really important to know the terrain features and know how an objective is going to play. Like when I look at an objective, I'm like, man, that's right at the edge of a gantry, right? That objective is going to have a lot of shoves. So thinking about where the shove's going to go, can I put someone under there? It's something you should always, or you should try to think about as much as possible.
Yep, 100%. All right, so next spot, I want to talk, I think the more important part of this, I think fundamentally building a list that can play from behind is probably numero uno. And there's probably some people who are listening like, I'm making a super synergy list, all gas, no breaks, fuck playing from behind. I either win or I lose, and that's fine. That's your strategy. More power to you. I just want you to have fun playing the game. But this is the topic I chose, so stay with it or don't. But mentally staying in the moment is, I think, where people struggle the most. And so, we all been in that situation, right? You see your opponent and you're like, fuck, you have a better list than I do. Your list is just straight up better than my list, and you're in a negative spot already. Or they just had a fucking insane opening and your opening was bad, and you're just like, fuck, I am now playing from behind already. Turn 1, I'm depressed, I'm slumping into my chair. You were like, oh my god, I fucking big whiffed. Kanan couldn't push a fucking support unit off of a tree, and with 7 dice, and now you're like, fuck, what do I even do? Or you forgot an interaction, right? And you're like, oh, and I'm moving Leia, and then wait a second, no, I have to shoot. I'm not playing Kanan, I'm playing Leia. Leia has to actually shoot the person who did the wound. I fucking mispositioned her, and now I fucked up my whole turn, or my turn during your turn. But you forgot something, right? Like all of these things tend to like trigger you into going, fuck, I messed up. Now I'm behind. Oh my God, what do I do? My question for all of you is, how do you stay mentally in? How do you keep yourself, just to give people a little bit more time to think, or just find a succinct way of saying what you want to say, Dizzard. Um, the thing that
I've
I
already
do
given him credit for being
personally,
succinct tonight.
and that's why I had to put him, I can't just make fun of Matt. Like, Accuser, you and I, we're bros. Like,
Oh yeah.
Glasses make me smarter.
yeah. So the thing for me is I try to put myself into a mindset of, I want to make this as hard as possible for my opponent. Even if I don't win, I want to make this as painful and difficult for my opponent as absolutely possible. And part of it is, I think, because I'm a podcaster and people generally know who I am, I don't ever want someone to feel like they got over on me easy. And so and because I take that mentality, I'm like, they're playing against me. I really don't want them going back to their hometown and being like, fucking, I just shit all over Omnis. I don't even know why he podcasts. What a fucking dipshit. And so I'm just like, I'm going to make this as hard as I can. And then sometimes you're like, well, fuck, I stayed in this and now I'm winning. Right. And how quickly that mindset can change in the moment. But Dizzard, you raised your hand. What is the thing? What do you do mentally to like keep yourself engaged? And why is it texting me for advice?
Basically, if you
Matt,
just
I wish you laughed into the
Wait,
mic
hold
sometimes.
on. You can't be texting your advice. You admitted at the top of the episode you don't have his phone number.
that's
So
true.
you had to text a mod. So get out of here with your fake news. You didn't text him for advice, or you didn't text.
Got him.
Well-
Discord message for advice.
Not if you have internet.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this is a podcast. Dizzard, would you have a real answer?
Yeah, no, my real answer is like, I mean, it's not, I guess it's not a real answer, but I just wanted to jump on the little horn of, if you just always play bad, then you're always playing from behind and you just know what to do instantly because it's your normal game.
So your advice is to just play bad.
Okay, so like to actually like, get something out of this is put yourself in situations and you're like play games and you're practicing games. If you're going to a tournament, put yourself in situations where you're already behind, to where you're already feeling that pressure. And you're like, because I know Zion's Finest mentioned in some other episodes, to where when they were practicing for Aiden and how to play into Aiden, they would always have Aiden go first and Aiden have the optimal setup of doing the things that Aiden does. And putting yourself in situations like that and practicing with situations like that means that when you get put into that when it matters, during a competitive event, you already are used to being in that feeling and you already know how to combat that. So putting yourself in a situation where you're used to feeling behind and practicing that way will make it to where when it matters, it's not going to hurt you as bad. That's really what I mean by this.
Okay, I need one of the people in Twitch to immediately go to a meme generator and find the Captain America and Hulk meme generator and put Dizzard's face over Hulk and have Captain like, what's your secret? And Hulk's like, I'm always playing from behind. I mean, the funny thing is Dizzard, you are not wrong, right? The more you play from behind, I know you're kind of taking like a saucy approach to this, but the more you play from behind, the more you realize how often a game is actually still winnable. And then that makes you actively stay more engaged in games. Like that's why I mentioned my War Machine background, was because there were so many times in War Machine I'm like, I've lost. And then I came back and won it anyway. And it reinforced that feeling in me over and over and over again. Just don't give up. Like, just stay in it, give it your all. And that's also the thing where like I really don't like it when my opponents, and then maybe that's the secret to this whole episode, is that I'm trying to get all my opponents to stay engaged, because I love the games where I'm like, I'm fucking shitting all over you, and then you come back and win. I'm like, fuck yeah, oh my god, that was so cool. Um
Well, I
so
just
no,
want to say I think like one of the only games that you are putting yourself in a losing state are the ones where you're scooping. And that's I believe in that mentality 100%. I hate when people scoop against me because you don't know how that game could have scooping, to define that, means picking up your shit and like bouncing.
table flip.
So
It's
yeah,
a
or table
Cartman.
flip. Yeah, so basically it's I don't there's no way I win this game. I would rather scoop and just move on with my life. That's the only game that you truly are putting yourself in a losing situation, because you're not even giving yourself the chance to pull out. So it's like
That's what
try.
she said.
I was waiting for it. But anyways,
In our
that's it's very
podcast
much
now.
I very much dislike it when people like scoop, because like who knows how it could have turned out. Because I've had so many games where somebody wanted to scoop and I encouraged them, like, man, keep going, keep going. And next thing I know, they came out of the hole and they won. And it's like, see, if you scooped, you never would have seen the situation. And like, just stop scooping and play the games out, and you'll one, learn to play from behind, and two, find situations that you've never seen because you don't put yourself in those situations.
Yeah,
And I think. Oh, go ahead, Omnis.
you go. I like
Because
your voice too
the
much.
thing I think about, because I find myself in that mentality a lot, like I don't think I can pull this off. It comes down to kind of what we talked about a few weeks ago, and some of that like mental state and getting in your own head, right? The second you start saying this is over, I've lost, is the moment the game is over and you've lost. It You've got to stay in it if you want to pull it off and win. And those, honestly, having it feels a lot better when you pull it off and you didn't think you could. So it's worthwhile sticking it out, and because you've lost if you've let yourself lose. You could still win even if you're coming from behind.
There's also some really interesting subtle things that happen late in a game. At if you spend too much time practicing early game, and this happened a lot in MCP. The early game was overly studied, overly practiced, overly rehearsed, overly discussed, and then the end game is almost trivially like not discussed, not engaged with in the same way. And when you're like, oh, okay, well, this is where the models are, and there can be really subtle things, and you're like, oh, if I had chosen to move this character to here, I could have swung back this game. Like there's just these really weird little things where you're like, oh, because I did this, this opened up this whole comeback. And those are the things that you save into kind of the long-term like tool kit where you're like little things that let me win games. And the more that those happen and the more that you find them, the more that you kind of save them and into your like play strategies as ways to come back. So yeah, like 100%. We have been talking on this for quite a while. Matt, have you done your
Oh
like
boy.
how do you stay mentally in?
I was gonna jump on this on word one, but I didn't want to interrupt anyone. So everything you guys have said has been highly correct. It is coming back from behind. You gotta remember it's a dice game. The mentality falls between your left and right ear. It's entirely mental. I wish I could dive back. I'm sure it's somewhere in the internet. Back when I did 40K competitively, I was on a podcast, 11th Company. We did an episode, a bunch of us from Philly, but talking about the competitive mindset for 40K playing from behind. And I called it the Hollywood moment. We ultimately went with the Rocky get off the mat, but I, I challenge myself when I'm behind. When I'm in a game where I'm like, man, I in this struggle, I'm so far behind. I try to make the big play, and I try to. I know it sounds dumb and corny, but we watch all of these blockbuster movies where the good guys are back on their heels and about to get defeated, and there's no way they can possibly win. I look for moments like that, and I go, man, wouldn't it be cool? And wouldn't it be like noteworthy and like if I came back and won this? So that's what I try to do personally, because I am the first one to say I fall into that tank. When I think things are behind me because I'm doing the math every turn, I'm like, man, I don't know how I come back from this. Like you're up points, you've got better cards left in your deck. I think you win this in four more activations. I try to go, wouldn't it be cool if I won? And I think about, I know it's but like that miracle moment from literally the movie Miracle, right? Do you believe in miracles of coming back from nothing? And I go, man, that'd be a cool like thing to remember after this game that I came back from behind. So I try to motivate myself that way. If you've ever watched a movie like that where the good guy comes back and wins and don't have that endorphin rush, you have a problem and you should go go see someone about that. So I no, but really I fish for that. I sit there and go, I'm going to make some crazy plays and come back and win this. And this is going to be a game I'm going to remember for 6 months. So I motivate myself by saying, I'd love to remember this game for the next 6 months as the time I came back from super far behind. So that's the motivation I try to find. Because it's tough. It is, and I'm one of the worst. I am a very emotional player. You've played a game against me in person, boy howdy, do you know I'm an emotional player. That's how I get myself. I channel my inner Hollywood storyline of I want to be that Rocky 2 comeback moment here. So yeah, that's how I build it up. But
No,
you guys are
that's
totally right. It's
good.
entirely mental.
Yeah. Accuser, you still need to give like your actual answer here, right? Like what keeps you mentally engaged?
I think Matt's got it covered, right? Because in the end, right, they're plastic toys representative of these really cool characters that we all know and love from movies, TV, in Aiden's case, a video game. They're all heroes in their own story, and ultimately, when you sit down to play a game, and Omnis, I think this ties back to that one that you and I did where we were talking about like ultimately you're um what was the word that shit used?
Co-opetitive.
Um, coopetitive. Yeah. Ultimately, you guys are like telling a story together, right? You're shooting for that cinematic moment because that's ultimately what you're going to remember. You are not going to remember a play-by-play of every dice roll, but you're going to remember that big swing where you took the risk and you did the cinematic thing and you came back. So for me, it's kind of similar to what Matt was saying. You're you're looking for your out, and you're always thinking about how you do. You have your comeback moment. You get up off the mat. You've beaten the odds because ultimately, probabilities are what they are, but there's also a probability of it working too, even if it's low. So sometimes when you're back against the fence, you got to go for it.
Full circling this, Omnis, you answered this question in your what have I been up to lately? When you explained the scenario you were in where Crosshair got a wound, healed fifth brother, Lumi Trigger moved fifth brother with like that is how you motivate yourself, knowing you can do exactly that. And look, it was so noteworthy. You were talking about it, we were hyping it up. That's how you motivate yourself to come back, knowing you can pull off this crazy three-dimensional chess move and go, man, I big brained the crap out of this comeback. That's the fuel. That's the fuel for your fire. Use that,
Oh yeah.
motivate, come back.
Yeah. Keep those tools in your toolbox. So don't worry, Dizzard. I'm gonna come to you in just a second. Because this episode is already running long, Matt, I know you had kind of before we started this episode, you had kind of mentioned, oh, we should talk about struggle 1 versus struggle 2 versus struggle 3. I think we've probably talked about this enough, but what I'm going to do is just kind of do like closing thoughts. So, Matt, if you end up wanting to summarize some thought from there, you have a chance to say something. But so I'll do Dizzard first. I will do my final closing thoughts after you guys. Diz, wrap up thoughts on coming from behind, playing from behind, getting that Back to the Future win. What do you think? What are your closing thoughts?
First of all, a message in the Twitch chat from Steiner. Ideally, your play when ahead, even or behind, is very similar. You want to calculate risk reward always. The calculus changes slightly, but the basics always stay the same. I thought that was a very good thing to point out. I think it speaks very true. I just wanted to make sure that gets shouted out. As far as my closing thoughts in the episode, I think the best thing you could do for yourself is manufacture playing from behind in your practice games when you're preparing for events or just playing in general. Like, say, have your opponent get into those situations where they're ahead, whether you manufacture it from like saying like, hey, I want to see this, how this happens, or if you just like play a little lackadaisical and let your opponent get ahead in the game and then put yourself in a situation from bad plays, or because that's realistic in a competition to where you're like, I'm not on my A game right now, I made a silly mistake, and just force bad mistakes in order to play from behind. Either or, just basically practice from behind.
Okay. Accuser, closing thoughts?
I think we've summed up just about everything I have on this. Shoot for your cinematic moment and be the hero of your story, and can't be the hero if you scoop your dice early.
Be the accuser of your story is what he has to say. I like
I'll
that.
allow it.
Matt, closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean the big thing to remember is like dice can get you back in the game. I think the big thing that Omnis was saying that I was talking about before we started recording the episode is I think there's a different weighting on your decision making. If it's struggle one and you're like, man, I really love to win struggle one, I'm behind. I'm gonna take a level 5 risk, arbitrary numbers, versus it's struggle two. I lost struggle one. I need to take a level 11 risk, right? Like I think that's in that weighing your options moment, think about the game state. And obviously, winning struggle one's big, but there's a whole difference to if I lose a struggle, I lose the game, and you need to make those giant plays, and you need to stretch and reach for those. So that's really what I was, kind of ominous. What I was alluding to with that before. So
Yeah. No,
yeah, that's my final thought.
That makes total sense. I'm gonna close it with a story of where. So this is a War Machine story, but I'm gonna make it brief. I had come up with a pairing concept. So think 2 different strike teams, and people were like, "You're fucking crazy. That won't work." And I was like, "No, trust me, it works. All I have to do is not face Team X on Struggle X. As long as that doesn't happen, I think I can beat everyone." And I was beating absolutely everyone. Finals comes around, and I am playing against X on X. The exact situation where I was like, this is the only thing that I lose against, and it's almost unwinnable, was my thoughts going into it. And thankfully, I had some time to like, because it was like, oh, we're streaming this game. It's going to happen after these other streams are done. I had like an hour or two to fuck around. And so I literally like went back to my room. I took a shower. I grabbed some hot dogs. I asked the counter, I was like, can I have some nacho cheese on that from like the nachos? Is that cool? And they're like, yeah, you can totally do that. So I had like these nacho cheese hot dogs. Then I grabbed like someone else and I'm like, okay, I'm going into my worst possible fucking matchup. Here's what I'm thinking. And like bounced ideas off. And then I went into it and like, oh, by the way, also one of the best players in the game was what I was playing against as well. And so then I fucking pulled out the win. And it wasn't even dicey. I caught them in something. And it ended up being the most memorable game that I have ever played. Ever. I still will just like meet people at conventions like, hey, you remember when you fucking did that shit to him on live stream? I was like, yes, I do. And like that game where you, and now this is an example of me feeling like I was playing from behind from like the get-go. I was like, this is my worst possible matchup, playing against one of the best players in the world. Fuck, I've already lost. And like trying to change your mindset, trying to like go, okay, what do I do in this situation? How can I create a situation where maybe he makes a mistake? And then doing that thing, making them make a mistake, capitalizing on it, and like pulling out that fucking win is the thing that you will remember forever. So that is my closing thought to wrap up this thing. Like fucking the coming from behind moments, they're the best. They're the, be the accuser of your story moments. So Dizzard, do we have another like what's the other thing that we do after this?
Matt's giggling like a schoolgirl. So
No,
Give it to
I
him, yeah.
don't want to. Oh boy, honestly, I want to pull the wind out of your sails here, but no, I'm totally with you, and I'm gonna relate my own experience. So I used to be a very competitive Magic player. If any of you know, there was a pro who at the time was second ranked in the world, Shuhei Nakamura. I played him in a Grand Prix in Washington D.C. in like the top cut. and the winner got to move into top 64. I was playing the super fringy list that I had kind of teched, and I had a card in there that was teched to beat the major list, and I beat him with this card called Mage Slayer. And Shuhei Nakamura did not see it coming. This guy is a pro who that year alone won $100,000 on the Pro Tour, and this was 2009 or 10. And when I beat him, he said, I never saw that card coming. And I asked him to sign the Magic card afterwards. So I still have my signed Shuhei Nakamura card. So it's my same thing of that Hollywood moment. It's my right. It's the Shuhei Nakamura moment where like I got to beat one of the guys who is in the Magic the Gathering Hall of Fame with a card he didn't see coming, because I was like, yeah, I'm going to come from behind and beat this guy who is exponentially better than me. So yeah, sorry. I didn't want to like build on that, but just it was
You know
so
what's
relevant.
funny? I don't think my opponent would have signed my card if I asked them to.
Yeah,
It's still on YouTube. You can watch the game, and like he goes from like I have caught Omnis in a trap to I've caught you in a trap, and he literally like slumps in his chair and is just like checks out of the game like almost completely once he realizes what is happening. It's still on you, and I'll give anybody a link to if they like actually care or like can follow a War Machine game. But yeah, like it would be kind of cool if I had that card signed by him. But I feel like if I had asked him to, like, I don't think he would have been as cool about it as your opponent.
well, I asked the guy to sign an autograph anyway afterwards, because he's somebody I like followed and watched his pro climb on my own. So to me, it was like it's one of the moment you get to play your idol type thing, right?
Yeah.
Like he's probably
No, I'm
one
pretty
of
sure my
free...
opponent actively didn't like me, so
Yeah.
very different situation.
I had like when I played a lot of competitive Magic, I had like 3 Magic idols, and he was one of them. And getting to play him in a game that literally like cash on the line, winning that game put me into a getting money situation. So it was I think I lived on that high for a year and a half, 2 years. So
yeah, your situation sounds way more fun than mine.
Alrighty. Last little things you gotta do. Unlearn what you have learned. We're gonna pass this one over to Accuser.
That's the segment. Yes, that one.
Yeah, that one.
Oh
Accuser.
man, I'm
what you
feeling on
got?
the spot. I wasn't prepared for that. Man,
Well, Accuser, while
I
you're
put it
thinking, I
in the
just want
show
you to know,
notes. Who's
I
doing it?
appreciate that you're the
I didn't read
hero.
those this week. Sorry.
I
Been busy.
appreciate that we have 3 dipshits on the show, and Accuser is the one who like actually like acts like a good classic hero. And people are like, you know, I have a feeling like if we did a poll, Accuser would be the most favored host. Like, am I crazy in thinking that?
Absolutely not.
I think Accuser would definitely be like people are like he's like the host of the people, right? He's like the Rock, right? He's
No,
like the people's host.
3 professionals in the tag along.
Omnis shits on Bartulando, so it can't be him.
Yeah.
Gizzard gets shit on by Omnis, so it can't be him. And I'm just shitting on all the 2 of you, so it can't be me. So Accuser, you have won by proxy.
So the only reason Dizzard can't win is because I shit on him? Or is that just you shitting on me more?
That one.
Yeah.
Let's go.
A bit of both.
Nice. All right. Did we give you enough time to think of an answer, Accuser?
I think let's do something interesting, right? Like, and because we've done like go play this or go try this or go. We've talked about shadowboxing before. Go shadowbox and set yourself up where you are losing a game and figure out your list where you can claw out from under like the worst possible scenario. I'm probably going to go do it because it's something that I should be doing. So when you're in that moment in real life, or go take your shower or whatever Omnis did before his big YouTube game and go do that.
Shower,
right? Go,
hot dogs with nacho cheese, talk to someone cool. That was my favorite.
there you go. The secret's the hot dogs.
He doesn't listen, but fuck. Now I'm forgetting his name. Never mind, I can't do it.
What about playing a game testing like 2 momentum behind? Even
Scott Ray, that was his name. Scott Ray from the original Chain Attack Screw. It took me a second. Scott,
Hey,
I know you don't listen, but you were the guy that I sat down with that like helped me get into the right mindset. So fucking shout out to you. You literally like helped me win the most important game that I ever played. So fucking Scott Ray, fucking hero. Fucking Accuser is what he is. He's an accuser.
You remember that this many years later because it is your Rocky comeback.
Fuck yeah,
moment.
it is.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you're remembering it this long. So every time you're behind,
It
think
was
you could
fucking
have
like
that.
10 years ago.
Yeah. And you could, mine was 50. Yeah. You could do that if you stick with it.
So yeah, that's my challenge to you. Go shadow box yourself, Matt. I like that idea. Go set yourself up where you're a momentum behind. Start with no cube on your track, just to handicap the your mirror, right? Um, hell, maybe play a force down. Do something that forces you to track like your board state and get in good play habits to where you know your list inside and out and can handle whatever the game throws at you.
All righty. I'm going to take us home.
All right, listeners, the most Star Wars thing that you can do, not the most Matt thing you can do, because that's shitting on me, but the most Star Wars thing that you can do is think about the person that helped you, who's your Han Solo blowing up the Death Star, who was your Kylo helping you kill Snoke, whoever was your hero who helped you come back and do the thing, your Scott Ray. Go thank them and be like, you helped make me the hero and you're my person. Thank you. The force is with you. Fuck yeah. This is Rogue Support. We out, nerds.
R2's cool.
What was that?
He kept the bar twos cool and
Oh,
Bar
man,
2's
so
the hero of the entire saga. So
boy, we like that snowballed into being long, but man, I love the end conclusion a listener can take from that is so good and so evergreen and so positive. I love it.
yeah.
It snowballed. It
Yeah.
went no it snowballed since it went long because we talked a lot about what we had done, but man, I
we
think
do
it was
that
a
every
great
time
topic.
though. But I
No,
love
well,
that.
that's why it was funny because like I'm just you saying like I got this topic. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how long we can go for that because we did that was probably half the episode, but we had a lot to go up front. But I think it was a great topic. I love it.
I wrote
Yeah, it
down
was good.
4 things for that kind of like first segment. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'll just read one because I feel like these guys are probably just going to immediately hit on the other things that I wrote down. So I didn't think about it anymore. And then you guys just thought of other things.
Yeah, no,
And
when you put the topic in this more like earlier today, I have a 5x3 here with well by that I mean post it, but like I have notes on what I was going to talk about because like I jot things down as I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, I want to talk about this. No, I think it was fantastic. I love the idea of coming back from behind. It's such a mindset. Obviously, look, 50% of players in all games are playing from behind.
Mhm.
right. And I just like part of so to be entirely honest, I had 2 other episode ideas that I was sitting on. And I'm like, I can fucking come up with something better than these. These are not ready yet. And then this one hit me, I was like, guys, what do you think about this? And then you were the first one who was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'm like, fucking cool. Like this is the thing then. But yeah, I think this was a good episode. I think it's conversation for our best episode. I think the Trainiacs, the when it, what did we name that one? When it terrains, it pours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That one was
Should've named
really,
it a
really
Fleetwood
good.
Mac
But
song.
I feel like this one is at least in the conversation.
So
like,
I
this one
think-
is definitely in our top 5 for sure.
the terrain one is one that in a year someone can come back and listen to and it's relevant. I mean, obviously this one as well.
Yeah,
but I think, the terrain
this one's probably evergreen too.
the terrain's good for anybody. Somebody who is
Yeah.
playing on their kitchen table to somebody who's playing a GT. This one's definitely more of the slightly edging towards competitive mindset. But I put it up there. I mean, obviously, like
Yeah.
obviously the first
I mean,
half
I would
of what
make
we're
an
doing
argument
is situational.
that this one caters to more people.
It's system
because I
agnostic.
bet- well, so we may have some casual listeners, right? They don't necessarily care that much. They're just playing. If they win, they win, right? But a lot of people are a lot like you and me, Matt. Like we're both terrain guys, right? Like we want to build terrain. We want to have cool tables. We want to run events. But I feel like that's not that many people. Like, and I think there's probably more people who are like, I'm never going to listen to a terrain discussion again. But I feel like this one might actually appeal to more people. Maybe that's
Well, Yeah, like you're gonna
case.
listen to Terrain once because you're gonna like we talk
Yeah.
about like things to think
It was a
about
good
with
episode.
Terrain.
So
Yeah, like, you're thinking like, oh yeah, I never thought about like making sure I paid attention to ladder stuff like that. But yeah, that's a listen to it once, put that in the memory bank, and go. This is something where people can come back and go, man, I've been getting behind in a lot of games. Let me re-listen to this so I can refresh that mindset. So
And then
Yeah.
the thing I
wait,
like about
Dizzard,
this
are we still?
episode,
Wait a second, Dizzard, are we still doing a bonus episode?
It's up to you guys. I don't have school tomorrow, so
I'm fucking West Coast, so I'll defer to you guys. If you guys are doing it, I'm doing it. If you
Yeah,
guys
I'm
don't
fine.
have time for it, I'll make
Nope.
time for it some other time.
I had planned for it. The wife has
Okay.
accepted baby duty for the first hour
Alright.
and a half of 2
with
hours. of
with
his
that, real
sleep.
quick, thank you everybody for watching on Twitch and hanging out and providing to the discussion.
Yeah.
As always, you are the heroes of the show.
The accusers, you're the accusers of the community. You are the heroes. Though I'm glad we have one good person on this podcast. It like, God, it helps us not be a bunch of toxic fucks to have like one good guy. God bless Phil. Oh my God.
With that,
I didn't expect that to be my role, but I'll take it. Like,
Dude,
that's fine.
Accuser, I told you you are irreplaceable on this podcast. Like, I feel like the other three of us are replaceable. You are like the actual good person on this show.
so with that, we'll go ahead and close off
Hilarious.
the Twitch. Thank you
All
guys
right,
for
later,
hanging out. We'll
Twitchies.
catch you
Love
guys
you.
later.